Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the beginning of our adventures in the wonderful Candlekeep Mysteries. Thank you very much to Wizards for sending me this gorgeous edition of the book early. Now, I do want to get something out the way before we go into the proper introduction of the show. Something went horribly wrong in recording. A real sort of freak circumstance. So, unfortunately, the video is only going to be audio. Now, this is slightly spoilery, but I will tell you that there is nothing you need to look at in the episode in terms of battle maps, etc. So it actually makes very little difference to the experience of the episode itself. Obviously, it's disappointing. I know this will, of course, be fixed. This has, I don't think, ever happened before, and we've got pretty lucky in the few years we've been doing D&D now to never have had this come up before. But I just ask for your patience and understanding that yeah, just freak circumstance. There's no video for this week's episode, but it will be back for part 2. With that said, let's go to Candlekeep Mysteries. I hope you enjoy. This is one of my favorite sessions of D&D we've ever played, so of course this is the one things go wrong on. But yeah, with that said, enjoy Candlekeep Mysteries. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ready, steady.
Ready, steady. All right, well, in that case, hello everyone, and welcome back to Guildgates and Goblins. We're going to be playing Candlekeep Mysteries. Now, I want to answer the obvious question that will be apparent to quite a few people clicking on this video. If you are new to the channel, hello, welcome. We play D&D weekly. You can subscribe to see all of that. It's good stuff. I DM one campaign, and our friend Joel DMs the other, so there's always an episode every week. But if you're a veteran of the channel, you might be thinking, where's Icewind Dale? Well, this is Icewind Dale, which I know it looks like it isn't, but essentially, without being too spoilery for those of you who haven't seen it, you'll understand that you might be meeting some new characters when it comes to Icewind Dale, and we thought it would be fun to do a sort of mini adventure and get to know the characters a little bit more before I send them up north and kill them again. So that's the plan. We're going to be running through an adventure from Candlekeep Mysteries, which is going to be a lot of fun. So yes, all of your support, your comment, your likes, your shares, all of that stuff is super appreciated as always. So, some housekeeping. If you are new, the best place to discuss the show, ask questions, all that sort of good stuff is the Guildgates subreddit. You'll find that linked down below. We have audio versions available on just about every podcast platform, Apple, Google, Spotify, all the main ones. And if it's not on any, let me know down below and I'll try to get it on there as quick as possible. With all of that said, unless anybody else has any points, does anybody have any selling out they'd like to do? No? Wow, no shilling. Okay, in that case, we'll go around the cast quickly and everybody can introduce themselves because there will be a lot of new people here. So I'll start out. My name's Merchant. Yeah, I'm a YouTuber you might know from Magic. I do game reviews. I do Dungeons and Dragons. And you're on my channel, so hello. And Craig, why don't you introduce yourself?
I was trying to think of something. I always say I'm just Merchant's friend. You know, I've just played D&D. I can't think of anything more creative.
You're a D&D legend at this point. It's fine.
So yeah, I mean that's it. I just appear in these D&D videos. That's it. That's all you need to know about me. Move on.
That's a good summation of Craig, the grumpy Scotsman. Ailey, why don't you go ahead and give an introduction?
Hello, I'm Alias, or Ailey, depends what you want to call me. I'm a Magic content creator, Magic the Gathering Arena specifically, and I commentate on the events too, so if you hear my voice on a random game somewhere in the future, yes, it is me, I am the same person, don't be afraid. I've had that a few times where people just rock up and they're like, are you that person? Yeah, hi. That's me, and I like cats.
Lovely. Speaking of cats, Kat, why don't you give a little introduction?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kat, or Lady Lavinius, and I am also a Magic the Gathering Arena streamer. I do cosplay, as well as I'm also getting into commentating. You can find me also on YouTube and Twitter and all the other social medias.
Wonderful. Jonathan.
Hey, wow, that's the first time you've ever called me that. Hello, it's Jonathan, VMG. I also don't do anything, much like Craig. However, I do somehow become every best clip in Connor's most recent episodes of anything ever.
Mostly when you die.
Yep.
All right. And Justin.
Hello, I am Justin, also known as Ferric6. I don't know why I've given myself a hard name, but that's what it is. I am also a Magic the Gathering content creator. I'm hoping to one day get into actual commentary for tournaments and stuff, but for right now, we're just playing D&D, having some fun.
Excellent. So, speaking of playing D&D, we should begin. Now, our tale today is going to begin in a place perhaps eerily familiar to the party. In fact, we're going to be beginning in the Elf Song Tavern in Baldur's Gate. However, not all of the party is there yet, and we're far away from the bustling main room or even the poker tables where money is being lost in copious amounts. No, we're in a private room in the Elf Song Tavern. There's generally a slightly musty air in here. There's some of the older, more lavish furniture as hunting trophies adorn the walls. However, the thing that you would be immediately drawn to is the somewhat nervous-looking gnome, sitting in one of the cozy armchairs, twiddling his thumbs and biding his time. John, why don't you give us an introduction to what Wally looks like?
Wally is a gnome who stands about 3'7". His wild white hair is currently wisping in basically any direction it can. He has a set of fur-lined chainmail armor, which is basically covered in ink and tarnish, as if it's been used as a writing surface one too many times. Surprisingly, a long sword sits next to him, especially for his short stature. It seems kind of ridiculous. However, that long sword is etched with intricate markings and paint and swirls and mystical-looking patterns. His stout shield, etched with similar markings, is lined with a metal and studded with small spike-like protrusions. Even as a gnome, you can tell he's more than enough strength behind his small stature. And you can tell because most of his robes are actually quite tight, surprisingly. His age and wrinkled face shows his love for being outdoors, and his eyes dart quickly around the room.
And as we get a better look at this shuffling gnome, we notice that he keeps thumbing over a leaflet, and almost as though he's obsessed over the wording and making sure he got it right. And the leaflet is a job advertisement of sorts. So, Wally, what have you put on the leaflet?
In search of burly research assistants who are willing to get into physical and or magical altercations in search for the greater good. Risks include loss of life, being torn soul from body, limb from limb, and getting stuck in any different dimension for an unknown amount of time. Reward a determined amount of gold to be discussed upon completion and my eternal gratitude.
And as he obsesses over this wording once more, the doorway creaks open slightly, and you see Alan Elith, the proprietor of the Elf Song Tavern, as he dips his head and he goes, "Sorry to bother you, Mr. Snockblit, but are you going to be taking the room for much longer? I notice you've been waiting some time."
Yeah, I'm hoping somebody shows up for the advert, but just a little while longer, hopefully.
And he kind of gives you a almost sympathetic smile, and he goes, "Of course, no worries whatsoever. We're not too busy this evening," which you can tell is a bit of a white lie by the bustling sounds outside. But he leaves, and after a short time, the door creaks open once again, and through it you see a somewhat elderly-looking woman dressed in a ranger's trapping make her way through the door. And Agatha, why don't you give us a description of how you look?
All right, so Agatha is a skinny 60-something-year-old woman with fine wrinkles and long, frizzy grey hair that's plaited over one shoulder. She wears a worn maroon leather cloak with stains and tears around the edges, indicative of harsh terrains she's possibly traveled or creatures that she's encountered. Beneath her cloak, she dons a light armor and her various weapons, with her trusty longbow, the only visible weapon slung across her back, along with her quiver of arrows. She walks with a limp, favoring her right leg. She also seems to have a permanent scowl on her face, and she hardly ever smiles, and if she does, it would reveal the yellowing teeth from years of smoking. She does not look particularly enthralled with where she is right now.
And Agatha, upon entering this room, you see the gnome sitting in the armchair, looking up towards you with hopeful eyes, and you realize that this is likely the chap you're looking for. You've come to the instructed place on the leaflet, but nobody else is here. What would you like to say?
I'm sorry, am I in the right place? I was told Elf Song Tavern was the room, and I'm looking for someone named Wally?
Yeah, that's me. You're here about my... You're actually here. Come sit down.
Yeah.
Take a load off. Hopefully there's more.
I'm here.
Hopefully there's more of you.
Okay. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick, and then I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Please don't leave.
Okay. I'm gonna get a drink.
As you dip out the room to go and get a drink, a tiefling man passes by you on the way, and Zarmus, you slip inside the room to see the gnome, and your first impressions are an air of desperation. So why don't you give us an introduction to how Zarmus looks?
Sure thing. So Zarmus wears overlapping robes of purple and black, which look quite worn and ragged. But there's various silver and gold metal adornments stitched into the material. Hood is pulled over his head, out of which you can see his curved, long, dark horns, the tips of which have been banded in gold. You can also see he has messy brown hair covering his brow, and his skin seems to be a deep purple, but his eyes are a bright pink. Hanging outside is a long, curved sword that, when drawn, glows with a purple light, and slung across his back is a shield in the shape of a crescent.
Wally, how would you like to greet this new acquaintance?
Oh my goodness, when it rains, it pours. Are you here as well? I need you to sit down if you're here to see Walter or Wally or whatever you want to call him. Just sit down if you're here.
I am here. I'm responding to the job.
Oh my god, we have 2 people. I cannot believe this.
I'm sorry to say this. It's just one of me.
Oh, don't worry. The other one's just going to get a drink, I hope.
Right. Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Zarmus.
Hi, Zarmus. I'm Wally. I'm the guy that put out the notice.
I guessed as much. I'll just walk in and sit down and say, has there been much interest in your job?
No. The one lady came in just a second ago, and she said she's going to get a drink. So I don't want to tell the story more than once. So let's just wait for her, and we'll go from there.
I will return with my drink.
Agatha, you return and you see there's a new fellow in the room. This rather devilishly handsome tiefling. See what I did there, we.
Is this the second person, Wally?
Yes, this is. I didn't actually catch your name.
Good afternoon. I'm Agatha Royce. Pleased to meet you.
Agatha, Zarmus. Okay, so everybody knows each other now. That's all we needed to do.
And a few minutes pass. It feels like an eternity as Wally the gnome repeatedly assures you that more people will be showing up, and this is in fact just the beginning of the group. Eventually, the door creaks open once again, and through it passes a figure quite unusual to many of you. A feathered figure enters the door. And Solaris, why don't you give us a description of yourself?
Sure. Solaris is a large white snowy owl. She has long white feathers, and there's a bit of brown striping along some of the middle feathers. She wears a long white robe that has a bit of red pattern that is embroidered into it with a gold trim around the edges. She walks slowly but very confidently, and she's holding a long staff. The staff has the staff is white with a almost snaking kind of pattern going up to it, and there is a crystal clear globe at the top that it is surrounding, and she is holding onto the staff and just making her way into the room.
And as she enters the room, Wally, I'd like you to make the first roll of the adventure. I'd like you to make a history check.
God, I have too many sheets. Okay, well, I actually have good rolls on this. Let's go. 19. Oh, hey.
So with a 19, you immediately recognize that Solaris, not that you've acquainted yourself yet, is a member of an extremely rare type of people. She's in fact an owl folk who are descendants of those of the Feywild. Your scholarly knowledge brings up this fact in your mind. Not that you'd ever encountered one before.
Oh, are you here for the ad as well? Because I have many more questions than just the piece of paper if you're here.
Hello. Yes, I have looked at that leaflet, and I have come to give my assistance.
Okay. Well, you can join Zarmus and Agatha on the couch. I swear there might be at least one more person coming.
Zarmus, Agatha, Wally. My name is Solaris Azar. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well.
Pleased to make your acquaintance.
She's gonna flock down.
Hello.
Sit down.
And as you're all getting acquainted with each other, one last time, the door swings over and a man walks in humming to himself. Quite a angular-faced half-elf strides in, and Chiron, why don't you give us a description of what you look like?
Why, hello there. My name is Chiron Clef. You see before you a man, a young lad. People would not say strapping. Pretty medium height, medium build, with very light almond skin. He has hazelnut eyes and black hair with streaks of chestnut in it. He's wearing a cloak that is a nice dark brown with patterns that appear to be similar to a great oak, with fringes at the top of your shoulders, made from the long leaves of willows. He's holding what appears to be a well-worn lyre. Totally a lyre that is made of rosewood, not pink. Yeah, it seems quite used. Much different than the hilt of his rapier at his side. He looks to be a person who's eager for adventure. And potentially eager for, let's say, experience.
So I just want to say, out of character, the fact that Chiron walked into the room and said hello, and then the rest of that sounds like you just told us that description in character, which is just hilarious.
You know what? I did.
You probably did, yeah.
Character development, right there.
Chiron lives in the third person.
Oh,
Hello, I'm here for the job.
oh, perfect. This seems like, I hope, enough people. Hello, I'm Wally. You said your name was Chiron. Hello. You could introduce yourself to everybody else.
Hello.
I already have.
Oh, good.
Hello.
So,
With this,
no, go ahead.
I was simply going to say, as with introductions passing, and you sit there and you begin to finish your drinks, and some time passes, and it certainly seems as though no more faces are destined to make an appearance through the doorway. So, at this point, Wally, you feel fairly confident that, as fate would have it, this is your party.
Wally takes out a small pipe and starts smoking, and does a very large gnomish sigh that there aren't more people coming. Wally goes, okay, gather around, everyone. We're going to talk about what we're going to do today. Hopefully it's not going to take us too long, but it shouldn't take us too long, I don't think. Has anyone heard of Candlekeep?
Can we
No.
roll for this?
I would say anybody who wants to can make me an intelligence check. It's not so much history; it's kind of your current surroundings.
All right. Oof, 5.
I got a 9.
11.
12.
Okay, I would say those of you who rolled above a 10, you are aware of Candlekeep's existence. You know that it is some sort of large fortress out on the Sword Coast, just on the point of the sea, actually, on a cliff edge, and you're aware that it has some sort of university scholar reputation, but you don't really know any details of it particularly.
I've heard of it, but I've never been.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Candlekeep, big fortress, blah, 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 whatever just Connor just said. However, so just to give you a little introduction to myself, my name's Wally. I'm a professor here in Baldur's. I want to go to Candlekeep. I have something I'd like to trade, and I'm looking for a book. It's a big book I'm looking for at the moment.
What's so
And-
important about this book?
There was a village that I'm currently doing research, trying to figure out where this village and this mine around the village just kind of disappeared, just as a whole. Like the whole thing just poof, gone, and we're trying to figure out why. And from my research and my looking into it, the book in Candlekeep will be able to tell me why and where and how, and then we'll be able to hopefully dig a little deeper into that.
But how do you know this book will have the answers you seek?
I mean, as a researcher, I have quite a few contacts, and they've been able to tell me pretty easily that this is where we're supposed to go.
Are you expecting much trouble along the way?
Why do you think I got as many people as I could to help me along the way?
Well, that answers that then.
So are we to just guard you on the journey?
Yes, I can take care of myself kind of martially, but I don't know what we're going to encounter on the way or while we're there. So I'm hoping that you guys can protect me at least a little bit, and of course, allow me to keep the book once we're done.
Agatha visibly scoffs when he says, I can take care of myself martially.
You'd be surprised. So what I can offer is 175 gold pieces each.
Well, that's a tidy
For-
sum.
I believe we should be done by the weekend, which that's pretty good for a weekend work.
Agatha, make me an insight check.
Sure. Whee! 13.
What are you doing to me, Connor?
13. With a 13, you would have something kind of twigs in your mind that, for what sounds like a quick trip to the library, that's quite a lot of gold.
Yeah. Now,
To the point where Wally may be not mentioning details.
okay. Forgive me if I'm a little bit forward here. I don't know your financial situation or anything of the sort, but that is quite a steep fee for just a trip to Candlekeep.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. All I could say is it's a mine. So obviously there's pretty useful things in the mine, and I may be able to get my hands on some of them, and my fellow researchers as well. So 200 gold, if this is exactly what it's supposed to be, is going to help me and my companions out quite a bit.
I will look around at the rest to gauge reactions from the party.
You are absolutely a strange little fellow.
Thank you.
Did not mean that as a compliment, but I'm definitely down for what seems to be an interesting experience, because you keep mentioning your compatriots, and this is only supposed to take a weekend, yet you're offering so much. I frankly don't care if you're not telling everything. I'm kind of just excited to see a new place.
Well, I also haven't actually ever been to Candlekeep, but I think it's going to be fun, and I'm going to learn so much.
Well, I ain't got any other contracts coming up, so you can count me in.
Oh, there is a clause in the contract that if it doesn't take a weekend and it takes more, sorry, that's the contract that you signed. Because I don't have any more money. I'm doing this out of my own pocket.
Well, that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
ask, Wally. Why are you doing this? Is it the university that has charged you with this? You said you were a professor there?
We're a professor, but this isn't necessarily a college matter. This is more so other people that I've been dealing with. Nothing sinister or anything problematic like that. It's just, everyone has hobbies, and this is one of the things that I'm trying to do to better my hobbies.
Is your
I'm-
hobby
I'm-
looking into disappearing villages?
Yes, and profitable mines.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm happy to go along with it, at least. It sounds like easy work.
Connor, I think I'm killing this, by the way.
I love Wally. He's so like eccentrically shifty.
Yeah.
I just want to say, relax, for fuck's sake. Relax,
Yeah.
take a breath.
I just want to be like, have a drink, please.
And
It's
John,
hey,
keep
Wally,
this
why do you
up.
want to do this? Mining!
Yeah.
Well, seems like we're all aboard. What do you say, Solaris?
Well, it seems that this could potentially help for whoever was taken or lost in that village. So if I can assist there, you have my sword.
I thought you had a staff.
Figuratively.
Oh, okay. So I'll get you to sign this, and I'll shuffle with some papers and get some type of very crudely Wally-esque contract out.
So you will get handed a copy of this contract that you can see Wally has sort of speedily sketched out perhaps the night before. The ink's just about dry, and you take a look at the contract, and it really is very, very simple. Any of you who've dealt with any sort of legal stuff before, Agatha, of course, you work with contracts for being paid things. You realize that this is basically just Wally's attempt of saying you can't try to extort extra money out of him if the job does take longer than he says.
Yep.
Oh. Seems pretty above board. I will sign. Here you go.
But do you all sign the contract offered
Yeah.
by Wally?
I sign it and return it to him.
You see Solaris stand up from the table, and she's gonna put her leg there, and she's gonna scratch a mark.
Love it.
You get back a slightly ripped contract from Solaris.
Yeah, I'll sign it.
All right. So you receive back your sheaf of contracts now signed, Wally, and it appears as though the 4 acquaintances you've just made are in your employ for the foreseeable future.
Oh, great. Well, I'm gonna look outside. It's probably quite dark by this point. Wait, I've been waiting all day.
It's kind of like the late evening, you would assume.
Well, there's no sense of leaving tonight. I don't want to walk in the night. You know what's out there. Why don't we pick this up in the morning? Yeah, you'll get your gold at the end, as per the contract.
Sounds good.
Gosh, I really should have asked this before I signed. I assume if you die, we get no money.
I mean, to be honest, if I die, you can have whatever's on me.
Very pragmatic of you. I'll keep that in mind.
Well, I guess as members of your party and in your employ, we will do our best to make sure you don't die.
Sweet. That's the plan.
All right. So what do you want to do? Are you wanting to try to stay the night, or are you wanting to try and find a carriage? You assume that it's best to hire a carriage to take you to Candlekeep. It's a good sort of night's ride away. If you were to walk, it would probably be 2 or 3 days walking, and quite an arduous journey along a route that can be plagued. You know, this is the Sword Coast. It can be somewhat subject to bandits and other threats. Walking might not be the best idea. So you're still welcome to try. But what would you like to do?
I think we should get a carriage for the evening. I have very good vision at night. I actually prefer it. So I can travel in the front at the very beginning of the journey, and then one of you can take it over from there.
I also have dark vision. I still don't like traveling at night, but I like the carriage idea. Yeah, let's go see if we can get one. That'll speed us up. Maybe we'll be there, and it'll be light out. I can just wake up and boom, there we are.
I suppose I should ask this. Does anyone here not see in the dark?
Well, I can
Yeah,
do
it
my
does.
best. But
Hey.
that's about it.
Yeah, I guess we'll go try to find
Alright,
a
so-
night carriage.
Who here is a native Baldurian? Who's from the gate?
Technically me.
Wally?
I work here.
And is nobody else from the gate itself?
It
no.
depends on if the Brotherhood has other places.
They absolutely do. They're
Okay.
primarily based in Waterdeep.
I'm from Waterdeep.
Okay, so, well, Wally, in that case, you'd know that there's typically a good sort of amount of carriage houses and just individual carriagemen, typically by all of the gates of Baldur's. Candlekeep is to the east, and you are pretty close by to the east gate, in fact, of the lower city. So you make your way there, we'll say. You head over there. It's still not like night. The streets are still pretty busy. People are returning home from work, and the sort of evening activities are just kicking off. There's people making their way into the Elfsong Tavern as you leave, and the streets are beginning to fill with somewhat, merry individuals heading out for a night. But you make it to the East Gate trouble-free, and as you see, most carriages are leaving or arriving and sort of being put away for the night, but there is one that does catch your eye. It's large enough to seat the five of you for sure. It's a horse-drawn carriage, big, black, sort of like double-length carriage, if you like, and there is a lone dwarf loading up the backside of it with what appears to be provisions, perhaps for the horses and whatnot. And would you like to approach and speak to this carriaging individual?
I would love to.
So you approach, and as you get nearby, he turns towards you and goes, "Oh, aye, late night fare, is it? Let me guess, you want me to shuffle you off to one of the taverns so you can get pissed up?"
No, actually not. Hi, my name is Wally. Me and my companions are looking for a trip to Waterdeep, yeah. To Candlekeep.
That's a bit far. Candlekeep, you say? Well, Wally, my name's Tilbert, and I'll be happy to ferry you along the way. It'll cost you a little bit traveling at night, and I'd imagine you'll want me to wait there for you to be done. People don't tend to stay too long at Candlekeep, not seekers at least.
No, we're only supposed to be there for I'm hoping just for the day, but who knows?
All right, well, I'll ferry you up there. Should be able to get there throughout the night, and, well, we'll say 2 gold apiece, and I'll wait up to 24 hours for you to come back out.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay. I'll hand them 15 gold.
Oh, I might even wait 25 for this. Thank you. All right, well, and he sort of glances around at the rest of your group. He goes, "Head in. Any of you been to Candlekeep before?"
Not I, no.
No.
Right. And what are you going there for?
I'm going to do some trading.
Aye, exchange of knowledge, is it?
Yes.
Well, I hope you've got the required entry.
I'll wave my papers in the air. Yeah, got it right here.
Yes, right. I've it's been a quick return trip quite a few times for me. They don't just let anything in, you know. Anyway, climb in the back and we'll be off.
I climb in the back.
All right. So you'll load up in this quite luxurious carriage, actually. It's quite nicely fitted out with, sort of leather seats and felt trim everywhere. And you take your places on the benches along the sides, and he closes the back, and all of a sudden you're off. You can't see too much out the windows as the light fades, but is anybody wanting to do anything before you kind of try to grab a nap in this carriage?
Keeping a journal of what's going on, who people's names are, those kind of things.
Okay.
Wally, what did he mean by entry and the papers you showed him?
Yeah, so Candlekeep doesn't really have, of course, currency exists there, but Candlekeep is all about knowledge. That's why I'm going. You actually pay and trade with books and information, anything that they have that could be of use to them. It's something. It's quite interesting, actually. I'm hoping that my own works will be able to get in.
So to get a meal in a tavern, you would give a recipe or a mathematical equation or something?
Not gonna lie to you, I've never been there, but I know that one of the things that my companions have told me is that I need to bring something paper bound that will be of use to them. A book, something that they don't have.
May I? I'm gonna reach over for the paper. I want to give it a read.
Sure.
So Wally, what is the name of your paper?
It's a sort of complete guide to clouds. giants, that is, and why clouds will end a multitude of wars. It is the title is probably the most riveting part of the almost research-like document, talking about cloud giants and all types of kind of giant stuff.
Well, this would certainly get a good grade from me if I were to be marking it. Except you used there and there incorrectly. Just so you know, you might want to fix that.
Oh. You can see Wally get like increasingly nervous when you point out mistakes.
So as the night progresses with you all critiquing Wally's thesis on cloud
Clouds.
giants,
Cloud giants, yeah.
generally speaking, you kind of drift off into a restless nap as the carriage trundles along, and you're awoken by Tilbert, actually, who's banging on the top of the carriage as you seemingly are making your way down. It's now much better lit, and you can see out the carriage windows, and your heart kind of stops in your mouth for a second because you look out the windows and there's no real visible road. All you can see is the sea to either side of you, and you realize that you're making your way up a very narrow track. You can't see ahead of you, but you certainly don't want to go to either side.
Fun.
I don't look down.
A wise decision.
But he bashed on the top of the roof, right?
Yeah.
Is
And
everything
eventually,
okay?
well, eventually it does begin to grind to a stop. And he appears at the back end of the carriage again, swinging the doors open. He goes, "Well, you slept all right? No trouble on the road? That's a nicety. Welcome to Candlekeep." And he kind of steps back so you can all disembark.
That was quick.
Well, it felt quick to me. I was snoozing the whole time.
As you climb out the carriage, you turn around, and all of a sudden you're greeted by the immense fortress-like walls of Candlekeep. And the sight of it is really quite incredible. It has huge white stone walls, and you can see many different colored towers rising into the sky, each one seemingly attempting to outshine its peers with adorned balconies and decorated spires. All in all, it's a very lavish, almost fairy tale-esque castle in front of you, and you can see why this place is untouched by war or any signs of conflict whatsoever. It stands out alone at sea on a bastion, the only way reaching it either up sheer cliff or the narrow track which would be suicide to attempt to attack. It seems as though Candlekeep has remained untouched for centuries, and in front of you can see a huge iron portcullis at the feet of the white walls, and to either side small windows are cut into it. Other than that, there's no sign of guards on the walls, nor do guards harry you or eye you as you approach the walls themselves. In fact, there's no one in sight. What would you like to do?
After climbing out, I'm gonna kind of like
Unfurl.
Ruffle your plumage.
ruffle my plumage. And I'm saying, I don't really like tight places. I'm not looking forward to these caves. So, and she's gonna like go up and fly up and say, just excuse me, I just need to unfurl my wings for a moment.
Damn flying
Show off
races.
if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately I haven't been here either, so hello? Hello?
You hear a hearty chuckle behind you, and it's Tilbert the dwarf as he's kind of, preparing his carriage and cleaning out some of the debris left by your night, and he goes, "No, try going up and ringing the bell." And he gestures towards one of the windows cut into the stone next to the portcullis.
Oh, Tilbert, thank you. Okay, here we go. Waddle my way over there.
All right,
I'll follow.
are you all going with Wally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Team, to me!
So,
Don't ever.
Wally, you approach the window, which is the bottom of which is just about at your eye level. And you do realize that there are actually some small white steps below it, which you step up and peer into the window. And you can see now that it looks almost as though you're staring into one of the study rooms from the university. It's a small office cramped with many, many forms and quills and ink pots all over. And you do see a small silver bell on the counter.
I can't reach that bell.
I'll get it. I'll reach in and ding.
Agatha fully leans over you, Wally, and rings the bell. And to your huge surprise, actually, from beneath the ledge of the stone window, a face pops up all of a sudden, sort of shedding papers as he goes. He goes, "Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you arrive. I've been so busy with all of this filing." As you can see, he kind of like does a small cough and straightens himself a little bit. He's just a very, very young man. You'd guess sort of barely 20 years old, with a fully shaven head and plain white robes on. And he seems to straighten himself in his chair, and he goes, "Welcome to Candlekeep. How can I be of assistance today?"
I'm looking to get into Candlekeep to get a book named A Deep and Creeping Darkness, please.
Well, let's begin with the initial stages of your admission into Candlekeep, shall we? I believe
Sure.
that we require from you a donation of sorts.
I will take out my donation and hand it through the slot.
And he takes it through one of the metal bars which are kind of lining this window, and he sort of reads the title and he goes, okay. He sort of leafs through it, and you see a multitude of expressions pass his face. There's raised eyebrows and the occasional wide eye, and he goes, "I'm afraid I'll have to take this and report to my seniors. I shall return with a decision post-haste." And with this, he stands up from his small wooden stool and disappears out of a side door, thus hidden in the wall. And you're left on your own.
I
Right,
turn
so
around and go,
admissions reserved, huh?
"Oh God, I hope that worked."
Solaris is gonna like float back down with a couple of couple flaps of her wings. She's gonna come down and say, so are we going in now?
I hope so. I hope my last couple months of research really have paid off.
I still have trouble understanding this place. So, is there a governing body, or who decides who can enter?
That young gentleman in the window.
Seems
But,
like a
if
lot of
you-
responsibility for one person.
No, I
If he
assume they
doesn't
do.
like what you write, so he can just bar your entry.
From my understanding, it needs to be something like you couldn't just draw a nice little picture or a nice story. It has to be something that Candlekeep is. It's a giant library, right? That library needs to be added to with something useful. So that's why we think. I thought this research would be the thing to do.
Does anyone check your research, or do they just take your word for it?
I mean, I'm not the top person in cloud giant studies, but I've helped them out. So I was it's been peer reviewed somewhat.
You're left waiting for what appears to be an age. 15 or 20 minutes pass as you kind of study Wally's credentials a little bit more, and boredom becomes overwhelming when all of a sudden you hear the slide of the stone door once more, and the young man appears again. And he goes, "Excuse me, Mr. Snockblit.
Yes.
Your thesis has been read by the Keeper of the Tomes himself. Quite an honor, I assure you.
Yeah. Ooh.
And it has been found acceptable. Are these people to be listed upon your traveling companions and as fellow seekers?"
Yes. All of them are with me.
Very
Except,
well.
except the dwarf. I don't think he needs to come in, but he can if he wants.
And he sort of peers over your shoulder and he goes, "I don't believe he seems to be too interested.
No.
So, Mr. Snockblit and associates, I'll require you all to agree to some rules for entering Candlekeep. For this is a place most sacred. and most important to safeguarding all of our futures. I will need you to agree to the Records of Accordance. There are 4 rules, and you must agree to every single one of these, lest your entry be denied. First off, and most importantly, there is to be no violence of any sort within Candlekeep. You may see rivals here. You may see those you disagree with. You may even see outright enemies amongst Candlekeep's walls. But so long as you are in the fortress monastery itself, any violence will be met with the utmost severity. Am I understood?
Absolutely.
A question
understand.
for you. What if someone jumps us? Theoretically.
If anybody were foolish enough to do so within the walls, you are entirely in your rights to defend yourself up until the point that they are disintegrated by one of the mage praetors.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Secondly, there shall be no stealing of any works or any personal belongings belonging to anybody within Candlekeep. The knowledge here is here to stay. You are welcome to learn from it. And that leads us to our third rule. There is absolutely no copying. You may study the books which you read, you may take notes, you may even render copies of diagrams. However, full works are the sole property of Candlekeep. And fourth, please do not damage, mark, or alter any works in any way. If you agree with all of these rules, I shall be most happy to welcome you all into Candlekeep. Please sign your names in the guest book below. And he pushes ancient looking, almost like if you saw this without knowing where you are, you'd think it was some sort of forbidden grimoire. It's a huge, dusty tome, and this thing must have thousands of pages in it. And he perfectly opens it almost 3/4 of the way through to a dusty ledger full of names. And would you like to sign the guest book?
Yes. Do I, just randomly, do I recognize any of the names on the page?
I was going to ask that too.
Ooh. You can. You can both make me an intelligence check because these would be recent visitors.
Because I'll tell you that. I'd be interested to know who's here.
Ooh, 10.
16.
16. Okay, Agatha, you don't recognize any. John, you see an entry from a couple of weeks ago from a tiefling member of the Arcane Brotherhood. And I'll send you the details of this.
Sure.
Okay, after the session. It won't be relevant right now. I'll send you them after the session. Because the others wouldn't recognize it. And it may be information that you wish to keep private. Not that Wally keeps any secrets, don't worry.
No, none at all.
So, when you've all signed it... Oh,
Everyone else signed it, and then Solaris, instead of putting her feet up to sign it once more, there's actually she pulls out, there's a magical pen, a pen that comes out of her purse, and it kind of floats up, and she speaks her name, and it beautifully writes her name on there. And she turns to Wally and she says, "Better not to ruin this book."
Why didn't you use that on his contract?
Yeah, Wally looks at
Seems
you
kind
like
of rude now.
he doesn't say anything. He just kind of.
Well, as you're doing the Solaris, you can see that the young monk who's granting you entry has a beaming grin across his face, as if he's encountering something for the first time, and seems absolutely fixated by it. And he goes, "Oh, brilliant! Thank you very much." And he retrieves the tome once you've all signed and slams it shut, and it disappears again below his desk. He goes, "Now, if you'd all be so kind as to wait by the portcullis, please."
We will
Let's
wait
wait.
by the portcullis.
Well, while we're waiting, if he kind of leaves and he goes.
Yeah, he
Wally
disappears
would-
out the side door.
Wally would just be like, "Okay, so I've never gotten in here before, never been here before. They seem pretty serious. I swear to God, if you ruin this for me, I'm going to be so angry. I've gotten so close."
Wally,
Well-
we're following your lead. So long as you don't send us anywhere, we could have the potential to ruin this, whatever this is for you, It'll be fine. Please, calm down.
For what it's worth, I believe the way this works is we are signed in under your name. Essentially, we're your guests. I wouldn't dream of doing this, but I think technically, if one of us does something bad, you are possibly going to be on the hook as well.
True, but I just wouldn't want to be the one to get disintegrated. I'll get kicked out of Candlekeep, sure, but let's just hope you're the one that doesn't get disintegrated or whatever that meant.
I don't
pretty
think
sure
any
it
of
was
us want
quite
to be
literal.
disintegrated.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have trouble following the rules.
Seems pretty straightforward, and if everyone else abides by them, then, it'll be okay.
I just thought I'd have a little pep talk because, yeah, this is important to me. So, thanks.
Duly
So
noted.
as you're waiting by the portcullis, eventually the young monk appears again, and with a wave of his hand, the colossal iron gate begins to rise back into the stone wall. And he beckons you through with a smile on his face. He goes, "You are all seekers of Candlekeep now. You join illustrious company in doing so, but I do ask that you respect the sanctity of this place. My name is Brother Robert, and I'll be your guide for your entire time here. Please, if you would follow me, I shall explain how this will all work when we reach our destination."
What is Brother Robert?
What's that, sorry?
What is he? Is he human or?
Oh, he's a young human, yeah. He's a
Okay.
young human male.
Just
Brother
asking
Robert,
what people are.
before I forget,
It's relevant.
before I forget, Brother Robert, can I just, now that we've gained entry, can we return at any time? If I were to leave and come back, would I be allowed in?
I'm afraid not. Each entry to Candlekeep requires a donation of sorts. I know our system may seem harsh and strange to you, but it is what has preserved these walls all these years and left us as the most prestigious place of knowledge in all of the realms.
That's great and all, but can you really call it a donation if it's mandatory?
Of course. You can choose not to come here.
Brother
Okay,
Robert,
sounds more like a cost, but
will we be meeting the keeper of Candlekeep during our stay here, or is that?
He gives you almost a mischievous half grin before he straightens his face and goes, most likely not, revered guest. I'm afraid the keeper is typically somewhat busy. Should you have reason to, you may seek out an audience with him, but he does not take kindly to his time being demanded of him.
I see.
So how many people live here?
Well, I am the 328th member of the Avowed, and I believe a few have joined after me. So, approximately 331, I imagine. But there are many, many hundreds who are here at any one time, although generally you will only see the members of the Avowed. And also, you are, and by the way, as he's saying this to you, he's leading you through the gates and into a very large, open gravel courtyard with sort of the same color as the walls, like a very serene white gravel throughout. And this place is huge. If you look on your map, actually, it's number 7. And he goes, "This is the Court of Air. It is here that you may openly spend time, should you require some fresh air. Many have found treading its stones most helpful for pondering that which they seek. Now, if you'll follow me, we'll head towards the House of Rest." And he gestures towards this dark green, small lodge resting against one of the walls of the Court of Air. To your right, you can see a large, swirling emerald gate with almost a portal-esque appearance, and you see statues carved on either side, as well as a couple of armored monks holding halberds standing on either side of it. But that's not where you're heading. You're heading to the lodging to the left of it, and he goes, "Should you have any questions about your surroundings, please do feel free, and I shall do my best to answer them."
Just as a random question, I know that you do need to do a donation to get in. Just as a thought experiment, is there such thing as like a lifetime member Like someone who has put so much research into Candlekeep that they themselves, maybe the keeper, a great example of someone who can come willy-nilly free as they wish.
He kind
Is
of
that a
furrows his brow at
status?
this question. He goes, "It would be most irregulatory. I'm not even sure if I should be telling you this, but I believe there are a few who hold such a preferred status, but they tend to be personal associates of the keeper or at least one of the great readers."
Oh, just something to aspire to.
Yes, most certainly. The only ones who truly come and go as they please are the avowed, but like I say, I believe there are those special few, but I've never met any of them myself. And with this, he leads you towards the small cottage you can see marked as number 2 on your map. And he goes, "This is the House of Rest. This is where you'll be staying during however much time you spend at Candlekeep. Please note, once you've gained entry, you are welcome to stay here as long as you wish. There is a small tavern that, serves visitors such as yourselves next door. They're called the Hearth, and, well, anything else you require, you may ask it of me. However, if you'll follow me inside, I'll show you to your rooms."
I follow.
Because now, if you do wish to stay more than the day, I can arrange lodgings for you, but that generally can be somewhat of a hassle, so please only request it if it is required. Now, I shall set up your study room for you, however, and he leads you inside this small stone and wood cottage. It's a very, very homely place, very cozy, but quite small and cramped in the corridor, and he leads you to one of the side doors that, from first glance, would appear to lead off into perhaps the kitchen or the pantry, a small side room. And he goes, "Now, this will only take a moment or two. I believe we're in requirement of a little bit more room." And he begins placing one hand on the door and murmuring an incantation of sorts. Is there anything you'd like to do while he's incanting?
Just gonna look
Wally-
over to everyone and be like, "What's he doing?"
Wally is, Wally is not a magical person. Like you can tell he's martial by nature, but you can see Wally go, "Ooh."
I would definitely be listening into this incantation.
Okay, Solaris, why don't you make me an Arcana check?
May I do the same?
Yes.
I only got a
21.
14.
Okay, well, Solaris, with a 21, you pretty much aced it. You recognize that he is incanting a spell that you've only really heard of before. It's a very unusual, very rare spell that is kind of almost mentioned as a joke occasionally when you've been speaking with fellow magic users. He's incanting Mordekainen's Magnificent Mansion, a spell which is known to create a pocket dimension in which you can shape rooms as you please.
That's cool.
And after a minute or two, he turns around to you and he goes, "I believe your study space is ready. You'll find it inside, and, well, make yourself at home. I shall return in a short amount of time to, well, facilitate your learning. I imagine there are certain books or topics you wish to research. You did mention one, but, I can't quite recall the name of it. If you'd like to tell me it now, I can go and try and find it for you."
Please, that'd be great. The faster I can get my hands on this book, the better for me. It's called A Deep and Creeping Darkness, and he pulls out his book just to check. Yeah, a deep and creeping darkness. Ominous sounding, I know, but yeah, that.
Yes, that is sounding somewhat ominous. It's not one I've heard of myself, which is unusual, but I shall do my best. Do you know any areas it relates to that could narrow my search?
Not really. I know it has to do with a mining village. Maybe that keyword in your search might help.
Yes.
Catastrophic disappearance, something like that.
And he kind of raises his eyebrows and he goes, "Disappearing mining village. That should help a lot, really. Very well. I shall return when I find the book, but until then, please make yourselves at home."
Thank
And he
you.
turns to make his way down the corridor.
For such a... If it weren't for the fact that you were such a strange character, well, I think that, I might think that you're trying to make another place disappear.
I don't have the magical capabilities to do that. But thank you for believing in my strength and power, I guess.
That is not at all what I said. Yet again, you are misunderstanding my words. However, it does not matter much to me.
No, to be honest, I think it would be a very profitable time to get that mine operational if we could somehow find it, or whatever happened to it. It's profitable. I've run the numbers.
Quick question out of character.
Our job.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Sorry.
it is.
I just wanted to check. Did you tell us where this town was in relation to the Candlekeep? I can't remember.
Did I? Sorry.
Did either of you tell us where this town was?
Like where the
mining village
Yes.
was.
Oh.
No.
No.
Ah, okay. All right.
Alias, it's called Candlekeep Mysteries. Some things are gonna be mysterious.
Okay. Just
something Wally may not even know.
Something I don't know.
Just to make sure, Mr. Snockley, we are only contracted for the Candlekeep. We're not here to help you with the mine itself.
No, your job was just to escort me here, protect me while I'm here, and make sure I get back to Baldur's Gate.
Again, you misunderstand. That was not a question. That was a statement. But
Good.
as long as we're all well aware, it does not seem like much is going to happen to us, luckily. However, this means that I'm probably going to be bored.
Yeah.
Kyron, that means this is the easiest 175 gold you've ever made.
You do not know that.
I don't want to know if that's true or not.
So, Wally, just to be clear, you're finding this book to earn a profit? You're not actually looking for the town or any of the people that had gone missing?
So, I guess while you guys are here, I am of course a researcher at one of the schools at Baldur's. But I also work with, maybe not directly with, but in auxiliary terms, sometimes direct terms, with the Arcane Brotherhood. I say that as quiet as Wally can.
My ears perk up a bit, and I kind of twist a ring around.
Chiron, you don't have to roll for this, but Zarmus, Agatha, and Solaris, why don't you all just make me a history check to see how much you know about the Arcane Brotherhood.
Craig, Cat, and Alias, absolutely no. But
14.
I got a 19.
Okay, well, I'll say, Agatha, you know that the Arcane Brotherhood is a magical organization that is very mysterious. Zarmus and Solaris, you know that the Arcane Brotherhood is a magical organization that is very mysterious, but that you have also heard dark tidings of, and some people are very, very cynical of their aims to the point that they would potentially even consider them to be a force of evil in the world.
I have twisted a ring around so that the signet is now facing inward.
I've heard about them. I can't entirely say I know what all they do, though.
What sort of work do you do for them, Wally?
as you probably guess, research. And one of the things, my focus, I actually have gotten a little carried away with the focus, is giants. That's my focus. That's what I love researching. But they've got me on a couple different things, and this mine just happened to be one of them. Unfortunately, I don't know how much you know about them, but they don't give me a whole lot of information.
Or resources,
Little
it
scraps
seems.
of info. Oh yeah, no, this was something I believe that was kind of proverbially thrown on the kitchen floor as it's not worth looking into. But it just seemed like, why not go down every path? Why not go to every avenue? But the problem is, I don't know what their grand scheme is. I just know that I love research.
We can
So
tell.
this money that you're funding, is that your own personal money, or is it going through?
Yeah, the
Brotherhood?
175 apiece is going to be of my own dollars. I've saved it up quite a bit to kind of fund this expedition. from there, of course, I get paid by the college pretty well. But yeah, it's my own money. It's not the Arcane Brotherhood, so I'll tell you that.
I find it quite hilarious that a man of your stature has decided to study giants of all things.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you. It's kind of serendipity or whatever they call it.
It is very apparent that you do not research common.
Can I just say it's really funny that Wally is like a hard researcher in a magical school, but he has a 12 intelligence.
No one said you were a good researcher, okay?
Hey,
True. And they did
My
say your
research-
thesis was acceptable.
Acceptable is good enough to get through the door.
Also,
So-
out of character, I totally thought about when you said a University of Baldur's Gate, I immediately thought of like a rivalry of wizards, where it's like University of Baldur's Gate and then Baldur's Gate College or something like that. Baldur's Gate State.
Strixhaven.
State, yeah.
So as you are all sort of discussing this and waiting around in this luxurious study room which has been laid out for you, its walls are lined with globes and charts and maps, and there's many a comfy chair and desk set up for reading and writing with all the equipment you could desire. However, it is remarkably untouched, almost as though it were brand new. Eventually, there is a knock at the door, and when you answer it, Brother Robert is standing there. He's holding a single book in his hands, and he goes, Mr. Stockbird, I believe this is the book you had requested. It's, took me a moment to find. It's quite an unusual tome. I think you're the first person who's ever come looking for it.
Oh,
If I'm honest, leafing through it myself, I'm somewhat surprised this was accepted for submission. It's a rather unreliable account by a bard I've never heard of. What on earth do you want with this?
to be honest, it's the only kind of thing that I have to go on a wild goose chase for my research.
Oh, well, be it far from me to ask questions. Here you go. I hope it aids you in whatever it is you're researching. And he
I'll
hands
try-
over this thin black book bound in leather, and you see upon the spine of it, embossed in gold, is a deep and creeping darkness.
Thank you, Brother Robert. If this book stems any kind of magic, aha moments in my head, I'll be sure to come get you so that maybe there's another book I can read.
Of course, if there's any other knowledge you require, please just do ask one of the avowed, or come find myself, either of which is fine.
I will take the book.
Okay. Brother Robert takes his leave and closes the door and leaves you with this rather untouched looking book. It's mark-free, and a couple of the corners of pages are creased where somebody's kind of hastily marked it, but it really does seem as though this book is not very heavily read whatsoever. What would you like to do? Are you just going to read it and relay it to the group, or?
Yeah, I'll pull out my own notebook and kind of take scrawl notes as I kind of come through, but not copy. I'm
Yeah, I was like-
copying the book.
I'll do it as such as I'll read what would essentially be in the notes that you're writing to the group.
Yeah.
So, a deep and creeping darkness tells the tale of a mountain village whose residents went missing over the course of several months and years. The book presents a series of vignettes allegedly collected from those who were there: survivors, traveling merchants, and in second-hand accounts, residents of nearby settlements. It's unclear whether it is a fictional tale, folklore, or historical. The content seems to be presented as factual, and the language is extravagantly dramatic. Vermilion, the name of the village, was established after settlers discovered a platinum vein in the mountainside. Did a booming business in both the raw ore and the refined metal for around a decade. Due to the rough terrain and harshness of the climate, the village never grew too large. It intimately hosted a succession of traveling merchants who came to the village for a week or two, sold and traded wares, and then left again. The book states that the nearest civilized settlement was 3 days' ride away on horseback down the mountainside. The inhabitants named in the book include Mayor Lai Duvazin, a kind and talented dwarfsmith named Tormund, and his wife, Blennis. 70 years ago, an explosion rocked the platinum mine, collapsing tunnels and burying workers under tons of rubble. 60 miners were underground that day, and over 30 of them died in the initial collapse, and the instability of the tunnels made the rescue of the others slow and dangerous. The miners who survived the collapse were trapped for days or weeks before they were rescued, or perished in the deep, alone and terrified. 16 came out alive, and 11 were never found. In the wake of the catastrophe, another horror plagued the village as people began to disappear. Starting with the survivors of the catastrophe, they did not all disappear at once, however. 1 or 2 would vanish in a single night, then 10 days might pass before the next disappearance. These unexplained disappearances terrified the remaining miners. After all the survivors either disappeared or fled, other villagers began to vanish. The villagers tried to protect themselves by sleeping with weapons and taking shifts on watch, but nothing changed. Even traveling in groups didn't help, since a companion might vanish while even briefly out of sight. With no one willing to keep the mine open and the disappearances leading to fears that Vermilion might be cursed, merchants and other travelers stopped visiting the village. The end of this patchwork story claims that the village is still there, though whether anyone inhabits it anymore is a mystery. The volume's writer seems to muse over the decline of the village, speculating about the fate of its inhabitants. They wonder whether it would be worth hiring adventurers to see if anything remains of the village, particularly the platinum ore mine. Sketched on the back of the last page is a rough map of the village's location, with directions from the closest mountain town called Merin. I'll write both those names in the chat for you. And that's the end of the book from what you can see. The only other thing that you see is on the last page next to the map, there is a small note of thanks, which says, "Thank you for sharing your tales, Astra and Lucas."
So is that the
not
book
how
you
I
were
spelled
looking for?
either of those towns. Yeah, I mean, the story kind of makes sense with what I knew. Yeah, there's like a map here. Does this map? Do I recognize? Is it in Sword Coast? Does it look like it's oh, it's just north of Baldur's Gate?
The map is so roughly drawn that it's very, very simplistic. We're talking a few triangles for the mountains, an X for Vermilion, and an X for Merin. You're not really sure of the location of any of these. None of you have personally experienced the town yourself. But there are plenty of mountains along the Sword Coast. It could be nearby.
True. Well, I'm not the smartest person, but maybe Candlekeep has maybe an encyclopedia, histories, something else that you could reference these names for, or something. Maybe not Vermilion, but maybe Merin will come up in a search through the tomes or something. I'd really like to know where this is.
It'd be worth asking.
Pretty crude drawing. I can't really get my hand around the layout.
Yeah, I find it quite unlikely that a whole town or village could exist without anyone knowing, or at least mentioning it in other works, especially in a place like this.
And while the book said that there were 16 survivors, people kept, disappearing here and there afterwards. I don't necessarily think the book said that all the survivors ever disappeared. Like, maybe there is someone still alive that does know. Let's hope.
So just for your reference, the book did say that some of the survivors left Vermilion before disappearing.
Perfect. Even more thoughts that there are someone out there. There must be, right? Right?
Do you know how long ago that this village disappeared?
Can I take a shot in the dark on how old the book is?
It told you in the book that 70 years ago the explosion happened.
I
and
should have been
then
listening.
It said 70 years ago the explosion happened, and then it took months and years for the village to die out. So there's no precise timeline, but you would imagine it's somewhere in the region of 50 to 70 years ago.
Wally, is the tale of people gradually disappearing, is that what's happening in this other mining town? Or is it that they've suddenly all disappeared?
Well, no, I think the explosion was the thing that I heard, that the town just kind of disappeared, figuratively or literally with an explosion. Yeah, I think I need to do a little more research into Merin and Vermilion. Hopefully, Brother Robert can dig something up.
Are we able to look through the archives?
I don't know. Let's ask Brother Roberts before we go thumbing through books and breaking them.
So are you heading out of your study room back into the Court of Air?
Yes, trying to
So you
find...
head down the stairs into the large open courtyard, and Brother Robert's nowhere to be seen. In fact, the only members of the Avowed that you can see are the two guards by the Emerald Gate, which appears to lead into sort of Candlekeep proper, where all the towers and the spires and the Great Library is. Those are the only Avowed that you can see unless you're wanting to head somewhere else.
Yeah, they must know where they're going. Let's just ask these guys.
Are you going to go up and speak to the guards?
Assuming they speak back.
Okay. So you go up and you greet the guards by this swirling emerald door, and you now see that the gate itself is carved from some sort of green stone, almost like jade, and very ornate and decorative, featuring sort of arch wizards of times gone by. But there is also swirling Wally, runes that you would recognize as runes of protection and wards all over the door. The two guards don't really move at first until you greet them, when all of a sudden one of them looks down at you, his helmet gilded, and he says to you, "May I help you, Seeker?"
Yeah, well, we were being helped by Brother Robert, but I can't seem to find him. If I ask for someone to go searching for, am I allowed to go into the library and search for a book? Or do I have to get it through you?
With this, a sort of a kind glint fires in the guard's eye, and he goes, "Seeker, I am afraid none except the Avowed themselves, or one who has the express permission of the Keeper of Tomes or a great reader, are allowed beyond the Emerald Gate. However, I do believe you would find Brother Robert back at the guard post. That's my only suggestion, unless you wish to beseech one of the great readers or the Keeper himself for a writ of permission to pass beyond this gate. I cannot allow you into the library."
That's quite okay. If you don't let me in, that I respect that. I wouldn't want to ruin anything. Yeah, it would be nice to be able to get in there.
If I
just
may,
as a thought. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I request an audience with the keeper? I think
And with this,
we have many things to share.
the guard, you see him kind of look over at you, and he looks completely unfazed by your appearance, unlike many people. And he stares at you for a moment, and he goes, "To request an audience with the Keeper, or even one of the great readers, is no small thing. If you have things to share, they must be of import for it to be worth his time."
Yes, I believe so.
He goes, "Well, I see no reason I cannot carry this request for you. Tell me, what is it of import you have to share?"
Tell him the Keeper of the Flame would like to speak to him.
"Very well. I hope for your sake and for mine, he recognizes this phrase." And with this, he turns and passes through the emerald door, and you see he doesn't even open the door at all. He simply reaches out a hand and seems to meld through it.
Spooky.
The other guard remains staring at you, not really reacting to the conversation going on. Is there anything you'd like to do before the guard returns?
Solaris, I know I've just met you, but I think you're crazy. You are.
Solaris, is that the title of the one who wields the talking pen?
I love it.
Yes, that pen is very important to our line of work.
Why is everyone here so dang cryptic? Y'all are.
My question is, have you been here before? Do you know these people?
I have not,
It was-
but I believe if you need entry to the library, I will be able to get it.
That
What
would be
exactly
nice.
is the Keeper of the Flame?
Or the tome, or anybody for that matter.
Oh, poor Wally.
The Keeper of the Flame is a long passed down ability, would you say, housing a very powerful flame spirit. It is our duty to develop this spirit, carry it with us, and to obtain as much knowledge and to assist as many people as possible.
So, the Keeper is you? There's only one of them?
There is only one keeper at a time, and I was chosen as a small owlet.
What on
At this
earth are you
point-
doing here then? Shouldn't you be protected in one of these towers or something?
It's been a long time, a very, very long time.
And at
It
this
is
point,
now.
the gate shimmers again, and the guard returns, this time followed by a hunched over figure dressed in purple and gold robes. And he goes, I've returned, and one of the great readers, the keeper himself is preoccupied, but one of the great readers has agreed to hear your claim, and it is within his power to issue a writ of admittance to the great library, so it's down to you now. And as he finishes this, the hunched over figure finishes making his way through the door portal, and he goes, Greetings. I am the great reader Kane.
Hello.
Summons me away from my studies.
Forgive the intrusion. My name is Solaris Azar. I am the Keeper of the Flame. I wish to partake in your library so we might better help more people. Will you allow permission for me to go into it?
And with this, his sort of wizened, wrinkled face smirks and he goes, a claim most simple in its nature. Come, walk with me, all of you, and tell me more of this Keeper of the Flame. And he takes you on a walk around the Court of Air, and I assume that you relay what you told Agatha, essentially.
Essentially. Probably a little bit more detail, but yeah.
And he listens along as you're walking along, and the rest of the group kind of trailing behind. He goes, a lot of this knowledge is unknown to me, and I have studied the ways of druidic craft for many, many decades. Tell me, why is it one like you has traveled to Candlekeep, and why is it you seek admission to the Great Library?
Well, you see, as I was saying, it is our mission in the last span of our lifetime, to go out into the world and help as many folk as possible. This man over here, Wally, is looking for a mine, a place, a town where many people disappeared and a lot of tragedy happened. I would like to assist his efforts so that those that have been taken may be at peace.
With this, he stops walking and kind of raises a hand for the rest of you to pause behind, and he goes, Those who are seeking mines are not typically the purest of heart, but I get a sense that perhaps you are. What is the name of this place you wish to learn of?
We are looking for a place named Vermilion or Marin. Either of those names I would like to look more into.
With his eyebrows raised slightly at Marin, and he goes, I know Marin well. It is a mining town at the base of one of the mountains even nearby. It's nary a night's ride away. You didn't need access to the Great Library to learn that, but I think it may benefit you in the long run nonetheless. I'm afraid I cannot grant you admittance at this time, my dear Alkin, but I shall strike a deal with you. Prove to me that you mean what you say. Go and help this town. Bring back the story of what happened, and perhaps put your own to paper. I see no reason why that is not a suitable ticket to the Great Library.
Very well. I appreciate your assistance. Would you let us know exactly where this Marina village is, so we will be on our way?
With this, he glances out the portcullis as you're walking around the courtyard, and he sees your carriage, and he goes, "You arrived here by carriage. Marin is, as said, perhaps 8 or 9 hours to the south. Any good carriage driver worth his salt will know its location. It's quite a busy town around here. Not many of them come to Candlekeep. It's largely a layman's town, perhaps, but we have traded a great depth of mining knowledge and prospecting with their folk over the centuries. Yes, I imagine your carriage driver would know its location."
Very well. I appreciate your assistance, and hopefully I shall be back here to look more into your wonderful libraries.
With this, he smiles and he goes, "There are many things to be learned in the Great Library, and many things even more to be answered. I do hope you return in good health." And with this, he kind of looks around to the rest of your group and he goes, "Now, I'm afraid I do grow tired, for these bones are most old, and I shall take my leave back to my studies. Remember, should you return here again, please send word for great speaker, reader, Kane, and I shall do my best to answer your call if I am present."
Very well.
And with this, he sort of throws up a half leisurely wave to the rest of the group, and all of a sudden blue rings surround him. And with a crack, he's gone.
Man, the guy who runs Nod is really let himself go. Sorry, I had to throw in a Kane joke. I'm sorry.
I'm
I've got into the one mining village not ruined by capitalism. Spies.
I'm going to look at Wally and say,
If it is all right with you, I would like to accompany you on your journey further. I don't care about your coin. I want to assist.
I will take any help I can get. Honestly, I can't thank you enough already. You've gotten me more information than I would have known what to do with or how to get to. So I'm very glad. This isn't necessarily a part of the contract. Like, it kind of is. I have you for the weekend. But yeah, from this point, I don't really know, because technically I haven't returned to Baldur's Gate, so I still got you.
He's got you there.
You don't have to worry about me, Wally. I will come. It sounds at the very least interesting, and there is definitely something wrong that needs to be sorted.
Yeah, it certainly sounds a little bit
Last time
suspect.
somebody with that accent went near a village, I don't think it turned out too well.
I am curious, though. The author of that book, were they the one to bring it to Candlekeep?
That is an interesting thought I also had, but questions I don't know the answers to.
Oh, we could check
Hopefully.
the sign-in register.
If we're allowed to even look at it again. And there's like a bajillion pages in it. I'm not looking through all of them.
Oh, maybe Brother Robert will know.
True.
Worth asking.
Now, remember this, though. Maybe of course, the entry that we would get back into Candlekeep would happen. It would have to be our recount or Solaris's account of what happened, right? Because once we leave these gates, we can't come back without another. I almost called it a sacrifice.
You're just out there sacrificing humans out the front of Candlekeep. They're like, what are you doing?
So yeah, I think
Well-
I don't really know what else to look at in the library. I think we have a pretty good way forward. I'd love to spend basically my entire life here working on literally anything that they can pull out of that library, but I understand that there's some more pressing things to deal with.
Then why is it that you don't just work here?
Obviously, I haven't really thought that far ahead. And I also have some ties to the Brotherhood that probably can't just end.
Speaking of, I will continue to aid you, despite the fact that technically my job here was just to help you get a book. I'd love to know the names of, let's say, 2 individuals you work with in the Brotherhood.
We can discuss that afterwards.
After what?
After I figure out what the hell is going on in this town.
So, another question for you, dear Walter.
Nice.
Are you going to share this information with the Brotherhood?
It depends. Probably. Yeah. I mean, they like I said, they kind of said that it's not probably worth it, but it kind of depends. If it's just a platinum mine that I can strike it rich at, woohoo! But if it has some more deep magical meaning, they probably would want to know.
All right, I'm gonna.
It does seem like you're going above and beyond what's expected of you. And I'm not sure what to make of that yet, but, you know,
I'm gonna put my
I'm
hand
curious.
on his shoulder and lean down.
Reach down quite a ways.
And I'm gonna whisper in his ear a Hail Hydra. No, I'm gonna
Ooh.
essentially. I'm Captain America. No, I'm gonna let him know that I too am a member of the Brotherhood.
Oh, you're an actual member. Oh, okay. I'm just contracted every
So
once
just
in a
just to
while.
make
How
sure,
quietly did you
just to
say
make
that
sure,
was?
Yeah, I was like,
whispered that to you.
Okay,
Hey, but
yeah.
how loudly did Wally say
Right.
that? That's the question.
I mean, I'm just speaking.
Yeah,
Am I gonna kill
Why is it
everybody
always,
again?
it's
because of
always
shit I
you
said?
that you say.
I can't do violence in here. God
No.
damn it! I can't do violence. I was gonna push him down.
I mean, I would assume Wally would get the clues, right? If he's gonna whisper at me, I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, nice to know."
Or he'll see the ring on the shoulder, you know. Sneaky,
I wouldn't
sneaky.
say
We
Wally
don't
is
know.
screaming. I wouldn't say like I'm doing a pretty shrill voice, and it's hard not to do it without
That's
yelling
fair.
a bit.
Very true.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be shouting it from the treetops or anything.
All right.
What time of day is it?
Oh, it's not too late, really. It's sort of a midday afternoon, you'd assume.
Oh, right, okay.
Read a book for
Just
2 hours. Had a
To
nap.
be
Great.
clear, Wally, whatever is in this mine, whatever treasures you're finding, that is not of my interest. I am there to solve and help those people that are disappearing.
Absolutely. I'm not one to be boo-hoo to you. I want to help people as much as the next person. That's why I do so much research.
You do
Honestly,
research on giants.
yes. You should see the things the cloud giants can do. It's fascinating.
I'm good, thanks.
We're
So where would you
fired.
like to? Where are you heading towards while you're having this conversation?
Headed to the gate to see if we can find Brother Robert.
Sure. So you make your way back to the portcullis, and are you heading out the front?
Don't leave the gates yet.
I was gonna say I'd like to find him before leaving.
Because
I
you have to
haven't- I
return
haven't-
the book, right?
I was gonna say I haven't returned, Yeah, I haven't necessarily given the book back,
Steal it.
but I don't want to steal the book.
Did you make a reference of the map in
Yeah.
your notes? Okay.
I mean, the map was,
Yeah, it
Circle
literally
squares.
said like, go up the mountain from
It is.
Marin. Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna go find Brother Robert, who is out the front, I will say.
Shit. All right. Well, in that case, I'd have to leave.
There are 5 of you, and some of you could stay inside.
Yes.
True.
I will see if I can go fetch him to go back inside, and I will wait near the caravan.
Connor, splitting the party is never a good idea, even if it's on the other side of a gate.
All right, so you're
Okay,
going
okay.
to grab him, Solaris.
Yes.
So you make your way out the front, and yeah, he's still sitting there. It's not a busy day at Candlekeep by any stretch, and he's just sitting there in his sort of booth almost by the portcullis, and he sees you, goes, "Oh, hello. I trust your studies were helpful. I see your companions are not with you."
Yes, they are back inside. I believe Wally has a question for you, as well as wants to return the book and
Why
tell
isn't
his appreciation.
Wally here?
I believe they didn't want to leave and steal the book.
Oh, well, you'd have a hard time doing that. There's anti-stealing seals on everything within the keep. But are they not outside because they think they can't go back in? The rule's not really that literal.
I believe that is the case. And
Forgive me if I gave them a rather harsh interpretation of that rule. It doesn't mean you can't step a foot outside.
very well.
And I'm going to have my long wing and just try to like see if we can nudge them back in to say, come on out.
Do we see the wing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. It's
Okay.
right by the portcullis.
I believe in the great white owl. I will go outside.
Now, as you go out, Wally, I assume you've kind of like stowed the book in a bag or something.
My bag, yeah.
Yeah, you feel a distinct, almost like blast of force on your bag, and you get knocked back a couple of steps. But then you're fine.
What was that?
What the hell was that?
As you walk out the front, Robert hears your protestation. He goes, that would most likely be the book you had returning itself to the library.
Oh,
That's
I was
cool.
coming to give it to you.
Oh, no, normally people leave them in their study rooms. It works in a similar fashion.
Oh, nice. Would have been nice to know.
Your friend said you had
Okay.
a question for me.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of keep you up to date on what was going on. I know you might not be, a part of the party, but we talked to great reader Kane. He was a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, yes, Kane is
seemed-
amongst the more agreeable of the many great readers. It was a
And
good thing you found him.
the book that I read was actually it was right about what I understood the story to be. It looks like we're going to Marin and Vermilion. Guess it's up the mountain from there.
Well, I've not heard of Vermilion myself, but Marin is, yes, it's not even a day's ride away.
So I'm outside the gate now. How do I get back in?
He sort of leans out the front of his booth. He goes, "The portcullis isn't down, so walking in would likely suffice."
Okay, thank goodness. So I was a little worried once I left the gates that I wouldn't be able to get back in without another research paper.
No, think of it more as a visit rule, more than a literally being inside rule. Not that many people have reason to come out the front once they're visiting, but yes, we're not quite that strict on the enforcement.
Brother Robert, I had a question regarding that particular book that we got from you. Do you?
Yes, it was. What was it called? A creeping in darkness.
Deep and
What was it?
Creeping Darkness.
Right, that's the one.
Do you perhaps know who brought it here?
Oof! Wow. We'd certainly have a record of that somewhere. Much as your friend's thesis was logged under their name, I would imagine that would be logged under a name too. But I don't know how long it's been there, or I have any idea
who brought it in or when. It would take quite a great amount of searching. Not to say it can't be done, but what reason do you have for finding out?
Well, just, perhaps a lead of who was closest to this town disappearing. Any living relatives,
Yes.
perhaps?
Yes, I suppose that could be pertinent information. Realistically, I would be happy to take that on as a research project myself, but I can't tell you it would be done even within the week. It would take a huge amount of luck and searching the archives to find the name of the person who submitted it. I can perhaps do it for your next visit, or I can reach you by correspondence, should you wish to give me an address.
We'll give him the address of the school.
Okay. Yeah, he goes, oh, we have that address on file. Of course, I can address it to you, Mr. Snockbird.
That'd be great.
Very well. I shall research it, and in my free time, I don't know when it shall be, but I shall find out the answer for you.
Thank you.
Appreciated.
It's quite all right. Do you intend to take your leave of us now?
Yeah, it seems like we're going to Marin. I felt short-lived. I wish I had been able to spend more time here. But
Many feel that way within Candlekeep's walls, but it is a place of purpose for most, not a place of leisure.
not yet. Maybe someday.
All right, if
Well,
you're
we
not
might
going to
be back
ask
here,
it,
Wally.
I'm going to ask. How does one become an avowed?
We, the avowed, are devotees of the great god Denir. Make me a religion check, Agatha.
Yeah, who that is? Religion. Oop,
9.
Nice.
9.
Not sure what Denir is the god of.
I hope it's knowledge.
Yes, we're all devotees of Denir. It's, well, we devote our lives to preserving and recording writings of knowledge, and perhaps even some of fictions, some of folklore, should they be of cultural relevance. And, well, it's, in my opinion, a noble profession. We safeguard knowledge for the coming generations of man.
And if someone were to wish to join, how would they go about doing that? Perhaps a small member of our party?
Joining the Avowed is not a hard time or a light decision. We really do devote ourselves to the maintaining of Candlekeep. Most novices and adepts, such as myself, start out as clerks, scribes, administrative assistants, all sorts, really. It's a grueling life, but it's one that I willingly devote myself to.
All right, well, there you go, Wally.
I don't know if I necessarily want to become a. I just want. I just want a season pass.
Didn't realize this was an amusement park.
It is for me.
And with
Did
this, Robert kind of half chuckles and he goes, well, unless I'm mistaken, your friend told me you spoke with great speaker Kane, so clearly made a good impression, I hope.
Yeah, you didn't smite us or anything, so yeah, it seemed pretty good.
Well then, perhaps you will see within the walls of our great library yet.
Let's hope. Okay, well, I think that's it for me. Does anyone else have any other questions before we make our way?
Absolutely. I am a man who loves curiosities. What would you say is the most interesting character you've had to come through these doors?
His name is Wally.
You're not that interesting. You're just strange.
Truth be told, I'm not particularly at liberty to discuss particular visitors. It's sort of an unwritten rule of Candlekeep that we don't politicize people's visits.
I meant more like, have you seen someone who's maybe from the outer realms? Something of that nature.
With this, make a persuasion roll.
Oh, you
See you
fool.
later, out of Robert.
I have a plus 10. I
Jeez,
got 23,
she's like-
baby.
With a
Hey,
23, you can see he actually looks behind him to check if anybody's there, and his eyes kind of flicker from side to side. And he looks up towards you, Chiron, and he goes, well, I'm not sure, but I think I saw a demi-lich once.
Now that is exciting. Thank you very much. This will stay between us.
Yes, I can't be sure. I don't know too much about them. Obviously, they're somewhat forbidden, but I think I saw one.
Very interesting. We're gonna turn back to Wally and be like, "See, you're not very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I mean, compared to that, but
I think you're interesting, Wally.
Thanks, Greg.
Brother Robert, thank you so much for allowing us to look inside of Candlekeep. It is quite the vast place, even for one such as I. I look forward to visiting another time.
Well, your donations and your submissions are always welcome here. I get the impression it may not be the last we see of you, and please do bring anything you think would be a worthy donation to Candlekeep, and we will welcome you within its walls once more.
I will start walking to the carriage.
All right. As you take your leave of Brother Robin and Candlekeep for now, we'll take a break there as you begin to head to Marin, and we shall return momentarily if you're watching this, but in about 5 or 10 minutes if you're one of us. So, anyway, welcome back to Candlekeep Mysteries. We are going to rejoin the party a little bit ahead in time. They have made their way to Marin in Tilbert's carriage. We'll just fast forward the travel bit because who cares? So we will start as you guys are disembarking from Tilbert's carriage, having paid him at the border of the town of Marin. Now, Marin, you notice it's not the biggest town, but it certainly is a bustling little town. You know, it's at the base of the mountain. There appears to be quite a lot of in and out traffic. You know, you actually have to wait a little bit to be able to get your carriage through the gates of the town itself, and it's sort of fairly middling defenses. There's a wooden palisade and a gate, but eventually you manage to get the carriage through. You see there are a lot of ore exports and seemingly other trade goods making their way out of the town, and in general it seems like it might be a bit of a hub for traveling merchants and for provisioning companies. So once you make your way in, you disembark, and then you're left on the streets of Marin, a pretty average town. There are stone buildings, well kept, but nothing lavish. There doesn't appear to be any sort of real displays of opulence or wealth. This is very clearly a very functional working town, and the people look hardy. There's guards stationed here and there, but there's a general sense of peace and calm over the town, despite the bustling nature of it. So, what would you like to look for or do?
Are there any guards hanging around?
Absolutely. You just entered the town. Right behind you in the gate, there's one stationed either side of it, and you can also make some out on a couple of corners further up the main road that you're on.
Okay.
I imagine we want to ask a local where Vermilion is. Perhaps they can simply point the direction to us, or we could hire a guide, maybe?
Yeah, or perhaps if there's somebody that's a little bit older who would maybe know the story about it, could ask them.
It was only 70 years ago. There's probably someone still alive. Must be, I assume.
Well,
they know the
it
story.
seems that 70 years ago, when the book was written.
True.
We don't technically know when the book was written. I'd frankly say it's more likely around a century. Although I suppose for some species, we can be quite long-lived.
So, Justin, just for your record, the book stated 70 years ago. I was referring to 70 years ago from the current date, just for your record.
I thought you
sorry,
said
I wasn't. Yeah, I should have been explicit about that. I meant 70 years from the current date.
We all missed it, it's fine.
Strike my words from the record, please. I said nothing.
I'm not sending you to investigate something that happened 300 years ago. Don't worry.
That would be awesome. It's not even here.
There's a shopping mall here now.
Oh, they put up an IKEA. That's a nice
Okay,
touch.
so Agatha, were you wanting to go and talk to a guard? Was that what you
Yeah,
were
I
asking
want to
to
see
do?
if there's like an elder or something someone we can talk to here.
Okay, well, are you sort of glancing around, looks for an old
No.
person?
I want to ask the guards if there's somewhere I
Okay,
could
right,
find, like a
okay. I was
council
like-
or something.
I thought you were like, where's the old
where are the other
person?
old fogies? Yes, you come here.
So you approach the nearest guard who's
Yeah.
stationed by the side of this sort of wooden gate over the entrance to Merrin, and quite a young-looking tiefling with light purplish grayish skin and some small horns actually sort of have been accounted for in the shape of his helmet just sticking out the front. And as you approach, he sort of rests heavily on his spear held in one hand and looks towards you and he goes, "Got any trouble, is there?"
Afternoon, young man. No trouble at all. Just wondering if there's a historian of sorts in town that we might be able to speak to.
An historian of sorts?
Or a really old person.
I mean, you've certainly got some old people, but what knowledge are you seeking? What are you after?
We're looking to find the directions to an old town called Merrin. It's nearby here, but we're not
You're in
entirely-
Merrin.
Oh, excuse me, Vermilion. We're looking to find an old town called Vermilion.
Strike it from the record.
I've never heard of it, to be honest. You sure it's nearby?
Yep.
I've lived around these parts all my life.
Well, it's a kind of a long story. Whether or not this place exists remains to be seen. So, if you have anyone in mind that you think would know about a place like that,
I mean, honestly, without any names, it's hard to point you in the right direction. Do you have any names for me?
what of the town that I just gave you the name of?
No, of the people you're looking for. I mean, I can point you in the direction of a random old person I
Well,
see, but
who's in charge here? Who's been here the longest?
well, Captain of the Guard is Captain Fan, but he ain't that old. Late 40s, human. Think he might be an half elf. I'm not sure.
Do you have a mayor?
No mayor here. Not really big enough for that.
Okay.
Some smaller places have mayors, but we've always been run by the merchants and the guard, really.
Okay.
What about this? Let's say you wish to find the village. Who would you speak to?
My mum? Dunno.
Where is your mom?
Yes!
I'd love to meet your mother.
I mean, she's at her house, but I don't really know if that's going to be that helpful to you, really. Like I say, I'm 32 and I've lived here all my life, and I've never heard of a place called Vermilion. Do you know where it is? Where's it meant to be?
Let's show him the map. Hey, Walter, did you take a record of that map?
I mean, it's not a really great rendition. It says it's about 3 days away. Well, I'm just looking at my notes. There was names in the end. You guys remember? I don't know if you guys were even paying attention at that point.
Atlas
I was paying attention,
and
John. You're a good boy.
Skylar?
That was
It's
kind
Astra,
of close,
Astra
but
and
nowhere near.
Lucas, there you
Astra
go.
and
There, I wrote
Lucas.
it
It
down.
said thanks to them.
Yeah.
Are those names that
I'm
ring
so
any bells?
proud of you. With this,
We're
the guard-
growing.
guy goes, Astra and Lucas. Can't say I know an Astra, but well, one of the taverns here, actually, we've only got the two, but the owner of that's called Lucas. He's an old chap. He's been around here
That
since well
sounds
before me.
great. Where's
some
the
of the
tavern?
lads frequent there when they're off duty. You'll probably find some of the guard in there. It's the Board Weasel. It's actually, just keep going up the main street. It's on one of the corners. You can't really miss it. It's nearer the middle of the town. Like I say, it's been here forever. I think he has as well.
That sounds
He's
great.
an old fella. He can be a little crotchety at times, but I mean, I don't really drink myself, but some of the boys speak very fondly of him.
Perfect. Thank you very
Lord
much.
Weasel.
Turn
No
heel, go.
worries. I hope you find the old person you're looking for.
It's Lucas. Let's go.
All right, so are you heading up the main street to look for the Board Weasel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so after a 5-minute walk down the town's main street, sort of weaving in between the carriages and people, you do indeed see this very sort of a I guess average-looking tavern is the way to describe it. Essentially, it's made of stone and wood, and again, there's no real sign of wealth or decorative flair here, but it does look like a well-cared-for, well-loved building, and there are a couple of guardsmen milling outside it, but you can see by the fact that there's a stack of helmets, breastplates, and spears by the front door that they're probably off duty, as they seem to be holding mugs of ale and chatting to one another on the outside terrace. And just sort of off that terrace on the main road, there is a sign, a black chalkboard, and written upon it is, "Ask us about our salty fish surprise."
Oh, we gotta do that.
Hi. Anything that's not roast.
That's the surprise. The roast.
Cool.
Oh, this
Let's go
seems
inside.
like the place.
Yeah.
All right, so you make your way inside the Board Weasel, and as you do, you're greeted by a single-room tavern with what seems to be upstairs leading to bedrooms. It's a nice atmosphere in here. It's a dining room that can probably seat about 30 or 40 people at a guess, and there's tables and chairs set up all around. There are some stools up by the bar, but you can immediately tell that this isn't a rowdy nightlife spot. This is just a quiet tavern to sit and have a drink when you're off duty, or maybe have a lovely roast in the evening. And now, other than the few off-duty guardsmen milling around, the only other character in the bar that you can see is an elderly black man who's leaning on the bar behind it, and he seems to eye you with some degree of interest as you enter. This man is clearly elderly. He's a human, by his wrinkled skin and bright silver hair, which he's rather defiantly trimmed into almost like a curled mohawk down the back of his head. You'd guess him to be in his 80s, potentially, his 70s or 80s. This is an elderly chap, but he still looks strong. He has the fragility of age, and he moves a little slowly when you see him rearranging things behind the bar, but there's obviously a strength in him that's underlying, and he turns to face you all as you walk in, and he leans on the bar, and without a shred of even inconspicuousness, he just crosses his arms on the bar, leaning forwards, and is just staring at you.
Guess that's our guy. We will approach. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Might you be Lucas?
That I am. And to what do I owe this surprising visit from new faces?
Walter?
Why don't we sit down and have a drink? Would you like one yourself?
Oh, you don't have to offer me. Too early in the day for me. I typically don't see many new folk in here until the evening when people come for our salty fish surprise, which you really should try. It's pretty good.
I could use a bite to eat, actually.
That sounds very good to me.
Yeah? I can fix you up a few bowls of it now.
Please.
If you would be so kind.
5? And he stares at you, Zarmus and Chiron.
I'm not one for seafood. I will pass.
I love surprises.
It's a good surprise.
I hope so.
It's a small firework in the middle.
No, the fireworks are underneath. Okay, so he goes, all right, 4 bowls. And he turns around and takes the lid off of this sort of like big like a crock pot, I suppose you'd say, and starts ladling out into these ceramic bowls. And he turns around and puts them back on the counter for you. And immediately you're met by the fact that the smell of this is delicious. It smells warm and earthy and spicy. And you look down into it and it's almost like a kind of chowder, I guess, but
Nice.
turned a little red with spice and whatnot. And it smells absolutely divine. And he kind of drops a simple wooden spoon in the 4 bowls and pushes them towards you. And he goes, that's 12 copper for the 4.
I will pay for
I
it.
hand him. All right, perfect. Aha.
Thank you.
Much obliged.
No, you don't look like the normal off-duty guard types, so tell me, what brings you into my establishment?
Well, we actually were just up at Candlekeep, and
Oh,
this place, not necessarily this place, but the town and perhaps a neighboring town was brought up. if I said the word vermilion to you, would that ring any bells?
And with this, he kind of turns back around to the crock pot and gets another bowl and starts ladling some out. And you can see him pick up a spoon and begin picking at seemingly his own lunch. And he goes, Yeah, that name brings up a few things. I must say I'm kind of surprised. You don't typically get many people from Candlekeep visiting Marin. I know some of the mining companies go there and try to barter for advantages on their opponents, but not many come in the other way. What's got you asking about Vermilion?
Well, I read the book. Your name was in the back of it. Yours and Astra's. I was interested in the town of Vermilion. I wanted to know more if it was true. No one seems to know. We're trying to figure out what happened.
Huh. You say my name was in the back of a book in Candlekeep. What was the book?
Oh, just a little one called... Oh, Lord.
Deep and
I got
creeping
it.
darkness.
A deep and creeping darkness. As absolutely scary as that sounds. You were thanked in the back.
Oh, I do remember. That strange dwarven folk who came around asking me for my story of Vermilion and things that happened there. That was so many years ago now. Truth be told, I'd forgot that guy had asked me about it. Huh.
Well,
Tell me.
he obviously wrote it down and...
He must have come this way 40, 50 years ago. What brings you here now?
We were looking for Vermilion to see what had happened to all of those people that disappeared, and if it was true, and if there's anything that can be done.
I'm not sure about the townsfolk disappearing, but I can tell you that the mining catastrophe was very real. I worked there as a miner myself, but I was off shift when it happened. But he seems to get a little distracted at this point. He goes, yeah, a lot of the miners passed away that day.
And I definitely don't want to bring up something that's gonna, I know it's probably not the best memories for you to keep, bringing up, but pardon the pun, but we're trying to dig into it a little.
This goes, it's okay. It's been a long time. Just so we're on the same page, my wife Lorna was amongst the miners who died that day.
I'm sorry
I left
for
town barely a few days afterwards. I couldn't be there anymore. What happened to Vermilion after, I don't know. Truth be told, I tried to look back as little as I could.
Do you happen to remember the dwarf that wrote all this down's name?
What was his name? Yeah, I do, I remember. It's called Ferris. Didn't catch a last name. He's a friendly guy, but a little imposing. Dwarven. Not from around here. I remember he had this incredible armor on. I'd never really seen anything like it. Not seen much like it since, honestly.
Incredible in what way?
Oh, just the intricacy and craftsmanship of it was obviously second to none. Yeah, I wonder what happened to him. He was a skald, if you like, a poetic sort. Not like your typical traveling performer, I guess. Very serious air about him. It was so many years ago, I'm sorry, I can't remember even his surname or even really his face. I just remember that armor. It was inlaid with gold and yeah, really quite something.
Would you be able to show us where this Vermilion town is?
Just, honey, I'm old. I'm not going to be showing you to anywhere, but I reckon I can still sketch you up a map. I remember making trading runs down here every now and again. We'd come and negotiate the best fees for the ore, and a lot of the miners up there were individuals, you see. It was before all these big companies came to Merrin. We were out there making money for ourselves and trying to hit it lucky. So we'd come back and, sign contracts and try to get good rates, and I made the journey, must be a couple dozen times, so yeah, I think I could probably draw you a map on roughly where it is.
I'll
would be
even
great.
pull out the shoddily drawn map that I sketched from the sketch in the book and see, is this at least a little accurate?
He looks and he goes, yeah, that looks about right to me.
Is there anything?
There's still a trail leading there, but I imagine it'll be very disused and maybe even dangerous by now, but that looks about right to me. Tell me, have you got any other leads on the town? I never really spoke to anyone about it, but you said there were disappearances and all sorts of stuff. All I know is people stopped showing up from Vermilion. I figured they just left, and after the disaster they did what I did and wanted to see the back of that place.
Well, the book that this dwarf fellow, is his name Ferrus? Is that what you said?
Ferrus.
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 Like iron. Got it.
Yes, like iron.
Ferrus, he seemed to write as if they just kind of poofed out of existence. Like you look away and they just disappeared. It seemed like it was after the explosion that people just started to vanish. It seems magical in nature. It seems like something I'm very interested in and would love to know more about.
I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't really stick around or even ask the other miners what had happened. I didn't want to hear details of that day, really. But, something that might interest you is, I do know there's another person in Merrin that was in Vermilion. She came in here not too long ago. I say that, but time's kind of lost all meaning to me at this point. Could have been 5 or 10 years ago. She wanted to talk about her memories of the place. Didn't even catch her name, but I think she's one of the vendors in the market. I've seen her every now and again. I don't make my way to the market much anymore, but if she's still here, I'd imagine you'd find her there.
You know her race, as blunt as I could be asking. She a elf, human, dwarf?
Yeah, she
Gnome like me?
looked kind of elven, I guess. Could be a half elf.
Thank you for your time. I know we didn't mean to bring up some troubled memories for you. And
Well, that's okay. I gotta finish drawing this map for you anyway. I see you've got a map on how to get there, but, well, I spent the first 25, 30 years of my life in Vermilion. I'll draw you a quick map of the town itself. It might be of use if you want to go up there. I'll show you where the mine is as well.
That would be great. Thank you.
Solaris is gonna take her wings and kind of like scoop the bowl and like go down and try to like peck at the fish.
Fishy, fishy, fishy.
And she's going to look up and she's gonna.
your surprise is very well made. Thank you for this as well.
That's generally the surprise. People don't expect much, but I found a lot of solace in cooking, I guess.
While I did love the food, I am a little disappointed that the surprise was just that it was good. I was hoping there was a little something more. interesting, wondrous even. But it was delicious. I will give you that.
Well, I guess that's a compliment. I'll take it. Thanks.
Yeah, he says same things to me. Things that don't really sound good, but you just kind of make them sound good in your head, and it works really well for me.
Yeah. Some people just speak a bit funny. Anyway, I would ask you maybe one favor if I might, and forgive me, but I don't really have anyone else I can ask of this.
Of course.
If you do go to Vermilion, and if you do pass by the market on the way, take some flowers to my Lorna's grave for me, please. I've never went back there, and it's to my great shame that I haven't.
Certainly.
What was your wife's name, if I may
Lorna.
ask?
Lorna.
Lorna.
You'll find her in the graveyard there. Also, look in a tree by the grave. I hid her necklace in there. I'd like it back. I left it there for her, but after all these years, I think I'd like to maybe see my days out with it.
Very
Certainly.
well.
I don't have anything really to give you for it, but, well, I'm just hoping on you being kind, I guess.
Say no more. I will fetch this necklace for you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
your knowledge has been more than payment enough for me.
Well, thank you, and good luck, I guess, if you're going to Vermilion. I really wouldn't know what to expect after all these years. Here's my map, by the way, and he hands you a drawing of the town, which is going to be on your screen shortly. Here's my drawing of the town. It might have changed after all these years, time is kind of ravaging, but it was never much, but it was our home.
This guy's an amazing map drawer.
Yeah. Look at those
Look at all
lines.
those squares so neatly.
He's
And
even
that's
got
all
the
meant.
scale.
Drew on graph paper. Very good.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Lucas, if I may ask
Mm-hmm.
a question. How long did it take you to accept what happened? How many years?
I don't really know if it's something that you ever accept. You just kind of get on with it, don't you?
Yeah. And Agatha's eyes kind of like start glistening up a little bit and she turns away.
Solaris is gonna put one wing on her shoulder. And just like nod.
Over this, he slides the map across the counter to you and kind of reasserts himself. He goes, "Well, if that's all, I should get back to cleaning up some of this mess, I guess."
I will continue to eat my surprise.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it seems like we know where we're going, folks. I look outside. What's the time of day like?
You would assume it's. I mean, you traveled overnight. It's probably about 2 or 3 p.m. The afternoon's starting to get on a little bit at this point.
I'll leave it to the party. Do we want to head out now? It says that it's a 3-day journey. We're gonna be out there overnight. Do we want to start now, or do we have other things to do here?
Guess
I'm happy to begin.
As am I. I would love to have the gold in my pocket and words in my ear, if you catch my meaning.
I would like to stay here and speak to this Astra, if I can, at the market.
Oh, definitely. We're not gonna. Yeah, we're gonna have to
Before
get
we
some
have-
flowers, obviously, and yeah, it seems like this person in Marin at the market should be a very good person to talk to before we leave.
Let's do that then. And perhaps we stay the night and head off in the morning.
Let's go to the market.
All right. So you want to head to the market. So very easily found. It's one street down from the Board Weasel. You can hear it from the front door of it even, and you head towards the bustling market streets, and you kind of wander around for a little bit. It's not the most, again, you know, there's very little space for luxury goods in Marin, but it is still a very busy place of legitimate trade. You see almost like wholesalers selling huge racks of meat and fish, and there's even people there trying to sell stones they found while mining and similar. So after wandering around for a little bit, one of the stalls does catch your eye because it's almost quaintly out of place in such a working town as this, and it's a beautifully kept, very green, very lush looking flower stall. You can see it's surrounded by plants that are not for sale. They're just permanent decorations, and it's almost like an alcove of tranquility in all the bustling marketplace. It doesn't seem to be overly busy. There's a couple of passers-by admiring some of the flowers, and behind the counter stands a elderly half-elven woman. She's got shortly cropped blonde hair, and you can see her eyes are almost milky with cataracts, and she seems to dodder about the stall a little bit and just rearrange the flowers here and there. But she seems as though she's definitely in her element in her floristry store. What would you like to do?
Approach. Say,
All right.
Hello. My name's Wally. I'm actually looking to buy some flowers. Lucas told me to come here. Said you had the best flowers.
And with this, the half elf glances down towards you, Wally, and she just goes, "Oh, that was very kind of Lucas. I haven't spent him a visit in some time. I do have nice flowers. Which ones would you like?" And she seems almost in a dreamlike state in some ways.
Well, to be honest, Lucas asked us to place some flowers at his late wife's grave. We're actually headed up the mountain. We would need something that would last the trip, and maybe something that, if you knew Lorna, would like.
And with this, you can see her face not tense up, but an intensity grows there, and she goes, "Oh, you intend to head to Vermilion? It's been some time since I was there. It must be nearly 50 years now. We stayed some time after the collapse, but Mother's nightmares made us leave."
Nightmares?
Oh, well, after the collapse, they started appearing in the shadows, and once that began happening, all sorts of people seemed to be upset. I was only little, but I heard whispers, and, well, I wasn't really sure what to make of them. But Mother, she seemed to get it the worst, and before long we had to leave.
Do you know what happened? I'm perusing the flowers. Do you know what happened in Vermilion? Do you know what caused the explosion? Sorry to bring up bad things of the past. Lucas said you were the only other person he knew that had ever been up there or remember.
She kind of stares through you a little bit and goes, "Well, my father's friends said that it was like the earth reshaped itself. They made it out early, but some didn't. They said tunnels twisted and formed anew, and huge caverns opened up, collapsing their minds. Some of them even said that's where they came from.
The nightmares?
I never saw them. Yes. The people who gave us nightmares."
What were these things? What did they look like?
I don't know. It was always ever so dark, and I never saw anything. My mother says she did. Says that they tried taking her, but my dad always just said she was talking nonsense in the middle of the night.
Do you think these flowers would be a good one for the
Oh.
trek up?
Yes, they're very nice, aren't they?
I do like the purple ones.
Would you
Yes.
have any seedlings as well?
Any seedlings? Well, what would you be looking for?
Something beautiful, like all of these flowers. You see, I come from a long line of druids, and I think having them cultivate at the spot would be even better.
Yes, I can provide you with some of those. And she kind of reaches to under the display shelves where she's cultivating all sorts of young plants, and she goes, "You said for olive trees, yes?"
Flowers or trees, any of the sorts, just to brighten the graves of those that have been lost.
Yes, please help yourself. And she reaches out and brings out a tray of seedlings, and she goes, "Take an assortment. I won't charge you for them. It sounds as though they're going to be put to better use than any of them here.
Thank you.
You can just take like half a dozen or whatever."
I'll just take a bunch.
She goes, "As for the flowers, you can pay whatever you like for them, really. I don't really need the money."
I'll slide her 10 gold. That's just
Well,
a
this
lot
is-
of money. I
It's
understand.
exceedingly generous.
I understand.
I donate
Wally's
most
got
of
a
what I
soft
make to the houses here anyway, so thank you. This is very kind.
Well, your story is very touching, and I'm very thankful for your time. So
She kind of frowns and goes, "I don't really know if they're stories or not. But good luck."
that's what we're trying to figure out too.
Just a question. Do you remember an old dwarven skald named Ferris?
I'm not sure. Why?
He came through here a couple of years back speaking to Lucas, and you're Astra, right?
Yes, Astra Vaughn. That's my name.
We found you thanked in the back of this Ferris's book, so just getting a little bit of information about what happened to Vermilion.
I think I recall him. Not many people have ever asked me about Vermilion. Most people who would go there get scared away by anything about it, really. Few people ask in detail. Most don't even know it exists anymore. There was only 40 or 50 of us to begin with.
All right. Well, we got the flowers.
I
What
got the
else?
flowers.
We got the flowers. What else would we like to achieve with our day, friends?
Really
That
have
was all
anything
I was
else?
interested in. Her stories. She seems so troubled and saddened by what has happened. I must find out.
I'm sure we will.
So are you gonna just spend the night, I assume, at the Board Weasel and then head
Yeah.
out for Vermilion tomorrow? Okay. Unless anybody has anything they'd like to do, during the evening or the night, we can jump to the next morning and... Okay.
Let's jump.
So we'll say that
Okay.
you're all ready in Marin. Now, you were told in the book that it was about a 3-day ride to Vermilion up the mountain. So how would you like to sort of prepare to undertake that journey?
Oh yeah, I guess we should have asked if the path we can still take a carriage up or if we have to hoof it.
The way Lucas described it, it was very not many people have been there. No one,
Yeah.
no one we've talked to has been there in like 40 years. So I assume it's going to be a forest at this point.
It seemed
Yeah.
dangerous as well.
Hmm.
I
Horses?
think we will
Horses?
have to go by horse.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, not everyone has wings.
My wings will not carry me as quickly as a horse will.
I cannot ride a horse.
What? Excuse me?
I never learned.
Oh.
I too have a confession. I'm afraid of horses. They're like really big, man.
Seems like our 3-day horse journey turned into a 7-day walk.
Well,
Have you ever seen one of them kick?
yeah. Yeah.
Horrifying. My friend
are-
Jeffrey went out a really bad way.
Are you just afraid of horses? Like, or is all animals?
Yeah, come on. I'm not afraid of all. I just don't want to be that close to the business end of a horse.
All right.
Maybe I could go and seek some of the animals that are in the forest. Maybe an elk or something else would be able to make it easier for our new friend to travel.
An elk is just a bigger horse with antlers. They both kick things. Look. I do have a sword, but I like to be away from things that can hurt me very hard. And I like to sing at things. I don't like being up close and personal with things that are bigger than me.
That actually raises a really good point. See, I was so excited, and I assumed everyone read the pamphlet. I never really asked martial or magical battle prowess. I just assume you guys can handle yourselves.
I mean, I can handle.
You did say burly, to be fair.
I did, burly.
It's fine.
Obviously this seems like a treacherous place. There's, I don't know, shadow whatevers, and I don't know, a mountain we have to climb, and my legs are pretty short. I'd like a pony at least.
I mean, I'm happy to walk alongside.
Do we think that any carts might be able to get through this area? Small carts.
I mean, I will say you have seen people transporting ore from up in the mountain via cart and carriage. So,
Well, I'll tell you what then. Let's get a couple horses. We'll get a cart. Those of you who can't drive or can't ride a horse, sit in the back. At least we'll make good ground that way. How's
And
that
if
sound?
there's any terrain that is difficult, I might be able to remove it.
What can't you do?
Someone's
many
going for
things.
employee of the month.
I was thinking about being very rude in character. This is out of character, and just like doing something with my arms that a bird person
You
wouldn't
just
be able to
flap
do.
at me.
Wow.
That's so
I
rude.
chose not to because that would
Rude.
not be what my character does.
Mm.
Oh,
He only makes fun of short people, not bird people.
Hey.
that's much better.
gotcha.
Nice.
Oh,
Well, let us look into getting that cart then, and those horses.
Off we go.
Okay, so you're gonna go seek out the services of a cart.
And some horses.
Small cart and a
Yeah,
horse.
we'll say that you easily find many people willing to transport you back up the mountain to a point, because essentially, as explained to you by one of the prospectors, the carts are full when they're coming down. They sell their ore, and then the carts are empty going back up. So you managed to secure passage in one of the mining cart, well, not literally a mine cart, but you know what I mean. One of the carts used to transport the miners and their ore. As long as, the couple of very sturdy looking, almost like Shire horse types, huge horses pulling them up the mountain. And these guys take you reasonably close to where you want to go. But then there is a definite fork in the road, and they say, yeah, I think there's an old mine down there. Nobody really pays it much heed. Most old mines are abandoned because, well, nothing good left. But good luck to you if that's where you're prospecting. And these couple of bald-headed miners right away on their cart. And you've now been dropped realistically barely, 300-400 meters away from Vermilion itself. It's kind of small buildings and a overgrown, weed-filled track leading there. What would you like to do? It's probably, riding up the mountain took you some time. It was a couple days and nights. So we'll say
okay.
it's been a couple of days and nights of rough sleeping in the back of a cart. And we'll say that you arrived there at the beginning of the evening.
Let's approach. I want to go check it out.
So as you approach and the very simple stone buildings become clearer to you, it's obvious that they are in a significant state of disrepair. And as you get closer and closer, the sort of plight of Vermilion becomes somewhat clearer to you. The village is eerily quiet. There's plants and wildlife which have overtaken the crumbling stone houses. Leafless vines climb rotting walls, birds and other small creatures nest in the exposed rafters, and gnarled trees protrude from the fallen roofs of a few buildings. The overcast sky ahead seems to add a sense of oppression to the scene, which seemingly envelops the whole village's tense atmosphere. Cue the spooky music.
I don't like this spooky music.
I'll lighten it up.
Yes.
That's my song. It's called C.
Wonderwall.
I can't play Wonderwall yet.
But yeah.
I think we should be a little bit more careful as we go around. It's been quite a long time, and there could be monsters or other large creatures in this town.
Agreed.
Or if what they're saying is true, the world itself, the ground itself could come attack us. So who knows?
I'm gonna cast Pass Without Trace.
Okay.
When I do so, you see the staff, the white staff that I'm holding, it suddenly starts to glow a little bit of color into like a more like a flame-like, and the orb that I have has like a flame that just kind of starts to shake and move and flicker.
Okay.
And then there's kind of like a...
You all feel like a envelope of serenity almost envelop you, and your tread seems lighter, and you notice that you're no longer leaving footprints or, in fact, making noise of any sort when you step.
Cool.
Seems like, and again, Oh, go ahead, sir.
As you enter the village and begin to make your way walking past a couple of these crumbled stone houses, all of a sudden, you hear a cry. And you sharply turn to your left, to the walls of one of the crumbling houses, and you see a young girl there, her legs pinned beneath a large rock, and she's crying out in pain.
Oh, I'm running over there.
You're running over?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Trying to lift her up.
She looks up towards you as you run towards her.
I'm just going to run over there and say, "It's okay, sweetheart. Don't worry. Don't worry." I'm going to try and pull the rocks up from off her.
Okay, as soon as you reach her and touch the rock, the entire scene dissipates in a wisp of smoke.
What?
And the girl
What
and
the
the
hell?
rock are
She
gone.
was right here. What happened?
Wally gets out his notebook. Begins frantically writing down what he just saw.
Is there anything like left there? I'm just gonna like rummage through if there's like any more rubble and stuff. Just
Nothing
gone.
but moss, weeds, and rock.
And we all saw this.
Oh yeah, you all saw that.
I am going to get out my instruments.
Play a little ditty.
I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. I'm casting Detect Magic.
Okay.
Love it.
So you get an aura pulse out from you, which detects anything magical within the 30-foot radius?
Yeah.
Right.
For what it's worth, I should say I walked closer to
Yeah,
where that
you're where the
happened.
scene happened. Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. It pulses out. Other than a few trinkets of your companions and obviously Solaris's staff and the blade of Zarmus, nothing seems to vibrate, giving off a magical signature.
Was that something to lure us here, or was it a memory, perhaps, of the people who lived here?
Well, the one thing that I can say is that it does not appear to be typically magical, at least, or if it was, it did not leave a long trace or a short trace. Did not leave a trace.
As you turn your attention away from the confusing scene you just witnessed, you see the large tree in the distance in the central courtyard of the small village, and somebody can make me a perception check with advantage.
I will.
Sure.
15.
15, of course, yeah. With a 15, from this medium distance, you can see that there are things hanging from the tree. Human-shaped thing.
Oh, great.
There are something's in that tree. Oh, I don't like this.
Were they there when we walked by?
We've been walking up towards it, right?
Oh, we're
Yeah.
walking up.
Yeah,
I
it's
see.
like-
Yeah, you've been
mean-
walking up from the south, yeah.
Okay.
I would be very carefully and steady walking towards the tree.
Yeah. I'll walk
As you
with-
approach, you do see that there are people in all sorts of mining garb and priestly robes and people with holy symbols and all sorts of manner of townsfolk you'd see about hung from the tree. There's at least 8 or 10 bodies, and a couple of them have hoods over their heads, and one of them is still kicking.
Oh,
I would fly up and try to help this man up so that he would not be.
As your arms cross to help take his weight, the entire scene once again just disappears, with black wisps of smoke rising off of it, and the tree is left there.
Okay, before we all go utterly insane, what are some things that we know? We know that this place has been functionally abandoned for a long time. We know that people disappeared. We know that whatever's going on isn't inherently magical, or at least it's very brief. We also know that, obviously, if we see people here, it's most likely not real. Unfortunately, there's a lot more that we don't know.
Can
This
I,
place is creepy.
Seeing him disappear, can I look if there's any like remnants of a rope on the tree, or if there's any like markings near the ground?
Make me a perception check.
13.
Doesn't look like anything's been hung from this tree.
Are these the shadows that?
As you, Solaris, as you search around the tree for signs of if it has been, used for such a macabre purpose, when you reach the back end of the tree from where you faced it, there's a wild-eyed, middle-aged dwarven woman staring up at you with wispy gray and black hair. And she looks like she's ready and poised to attack you. She's not wearing any armor. She's wearing what looks like almost a priest's robe or something. But she's wielding a hammer in one hand, and she looks like she's ready to leap at you and attack you.
Oh, please, we're only here to look. I do not wish you any harm.
Probably not real.
I don't care if these people are real or not, but if she is there, she needs our help.
She just stares at you wild-eyed, brandishing the hammer still.
I'm going to gently fall down and please, ma'am, your weapon. And I'm gonna try to see if I can reach out to the weapon.
You reach out for the hammer, which is in her now shaking hand. She looks wide-eyed with disbelief. And as your hand reaches out and touches the hammer, you feel the cold steel of it under your fingertips. And that's where we'll end the session.
This one's real.
nice.
There we go.
I'm like scared, dude.
That got real fucking
It's
spooky,
creepy.
real fucking quick.
Yeah,
like
crashing realization of this is a horror adventure.
I thought
we were
this
going
was
some
gonna.
cool college thing.
Yeah, I thought it was just go down the vine. It's a dungeon. Have a good time. In and out. There we go.
Oh, no, it's
Bodies
like
hanging from trees. Young
Yeah.
girls crushed under rocks. Fucking
horrible
hell.
times only from here.
Cool.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it was, a little bit. It was very like story focused, very slow moving. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed at home. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time when I will reveal now the dwarven woman you just found is Loren's character and always totally returning to the show.
Oh.
And she will be playing the dwarven woman that you just found. So we do have an old new cast member joining us. Which I'm very, very excited for. That'll be awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching at home. We hope you enjoyed the first episode of Candlekeep Mysteries. We hope you enjoyed getting to meet the new long-term party, if you like. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Leave a like, all that good stuff if you enjoyed the video. And bye from me, bye from the rest of the cast. And most importantly, bye from Craig.
Bye-bye.
No, that's not it. That's not it.
Bye.
Bye.